Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome on back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. We are coming off UFC 322 and we're rocking the baby blues. Now, I'm not going to put the money chain on this week. I will not be grabbing the money chain necklace. And that is because you have to earn the money chain necklace. Now, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or if you win by a mile. We're coming off a plus 0.25 unit victory at UFC 322. Now, as you all know, the track record of me and pay-per-views is not a good one. I do better on mangy, dirty undercards where you've got live dogs that people don't see coming. Those are my kind of cards. That's when I cook my most delicious meals. This week, I had two big bets at UFC 322, and those both hit. Thank God for that. And then I goofed around for the rest of the card, played props and took a dog shot on Chepe Mariscal, and that ended up sinking me as far as profitability goes for the night. So grateful that I had good reads and hit the good reads hard and strong, but also just a little bit disappointed that I let my FOMO get the best of me. As you guys know, that is my greatest weakness when it comes to gambling, is the fear of missing out. I threw 1 unit on Jack Della because if he pulled the upset and I was not there with money in my pocket the night Islam went down, I probably would have jumped off the nearest bridge. And then similarly, Chepe being the underdog that was calling to me all week, basically. And I just have to get this off my chest, you guys, because I have a message for Pat Sabatini, and that is, fuck you, Pat Sabatini. Fuck you and your elite grappling game plan. Fuck you and your ability to adjust. You're supposed to be fish in a barrel. You're supposed to be easy money. I should be able to just cash tickets against you because you're not supposed to learn your lesson and get better at your craft. Fuck you for making me a fan because of how good you are, even though I'm losing money trying to fade you. So fuck you in particular, Patrick Sabatini. Thank you. You're dismissed. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody else is doing well in the chat. Oh, we got my guy Dream Dicks Insider Corner. Get out of here with that bullshit, okay? The Vikings had that game won on several occasions. I cannot believe 9 comes in as clutch as humanly possible to give us the lead with less than a minute. And all we've got to do, the defense had been playing amazing all day. All day. The Vikings defense had done their job and they let you run straight into field goal range. Like just the most infuriating game of all time. But happy for you. Happy for you. We should have won. Happy for you. Ethan, what is going on, buddy? Welcome to the show. Grateful dude. Moy's in the house. What is up? We've got the Proto. What is up? Steph hanging out. Premium Picks. What's going on? And Dylan and Barry. We got everybody. Not everybody. You guys know what I'm saying. We got about 150 more regular close and dear to my heart viewers that'll roll in here over the next 20 to 30 minutes. So let's get the show going and let's bring in one of your favorite guests of all time, your favorite uncle, my favorite uncle, none other than Uncle Weezy. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Coming off a pretty solid week last week for UFC 322 and looking forward to this week and then a week off for Thanksgiving. We're coming near the end of the UFC year, man, but including this card coming up on Saturday, there's only 3 cards left. And we've really only got 2 main events left because the last main event of the year is Manel Kape versus Royval. And Kape hasn't pulled out yet. We're just waiting for word when he does. So, yeah, we're coming to the end of the year, man. 2025 almost passing us by here. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to UFC Qatar. And there's some interesting fights on this one, and I'm telling you, man, I just placed a big bet as I saw a line just open up here, and we're going to be talking about that fight pretty soon, I think.
Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear what that was all about. So a fun little tease for the people in the chat. Good stuff. How are you doing coming off of UFC 322? How was your weekend?
It was a good one, man. Let me see. Let me get my let me get my Bet MMA tips profile up here. We were up 3.26 units. But you know, like Clint, I've been making like one horrible bet every week. I mean, it's like there's one bet that I got to make that's not just gonna lose, but it's gonna lose in embarrassing fashion. 1.5 units on the Weili Zhang money line. I really thought that the difference in size wouldn't be that big, and I'm telling you, man, like it was about 90 seconds into that fight. I think I said it out loud. I'm like, Weili has a 0% chance of winning this fight. Like, I saw them come out, touch gloves, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Looks like 4 inches. She looks like she's 2 weight classes bigger than her. And I didn't see that all week. And I'm not a huge believer in physicality at the lower weight classes. I've always felt for women's MMA, it's so much about skill, and Weili had been just running through opponents, and we had seen so many 115ers move up to 125 with very little problems. Rose Namajunas, Alexa Grasso became champion. I mean, Rose went 3 rounds with Manon, and it was very close. Macy Barber moved from 115 up to 125 and did well. We've seen Jessica Andrade bounce back and forth between 115, 125, and 135. So I didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but my God, Valentina put on an absolute masterclass there. So good on her. Good on the Valentina bettors. My other losing bet was I had two losing bets other than that. Makhachev by submission. Didn't hate the bet. Didn't hate the way that it worked out. Jack just showed really good submission defense there. And I had 1 unit on Beneil Dariush to win by decision. And that, I mean, I got fucked there. I mean, like that was only about 14 and a half minutes away from cashing. But I did have 1.5 units on Benoit Saint-Denis inside the distance. So I actually won money on that fight. I figured it was either going to be BSD inside the distance or, if he didn't find that moment to finish the fight because everybody finishes Beneil, I thought maybe Beneil would get a ton of takedowns and top.
That's a good 2-way to play.
Yeah, I wish I had played heavier BSD inside the distance and a little bit less on the decision prop. But and then I had a 3-leg parlay that hit. That was Makhachev to win, Susurkayev inside the distance, the Daukaus Mearshart.
Oh, that one saved you a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? I wasn't even watching that fight. I was doing a couple other things. I think I fell asleep actually. We ran a bunch of errands yesterday, got a bunch of stuff done. I'm like, I'm going to take an hour nap before the fight starts. And then I woke up like 2.5 hours later, like, no, it's the fights, and then I had a Carlos Prates 3-unit money line bet on him. I had 1 unit on him to win inside the distance. So yeah, it was good. It was a good week for me, up 3.26 units. And
love to hear it.
Yeah, man. So let's keep it rolling for this week, right?
Hell yeah, man. Let's roll it right on over. We got a couple of events left to end the year here. And I got to tell you guys, I get to come down off of my wall. Wheezy, my watch is over. My time has ended trying to watch in hatred of Leon Edwards. I feel much, much better about that because I cashed a massive bet on Carlos Prates. And that makes me 3 of 4 in his last fights that I've bet against Leon Edwards successfully. So we'll see where he goes from here. But it's all lining up pretty perfectly. I cut a WWE level promo last week about fading the shit out of him. And it feels good to have called it just absolutely perfectly. And it feels good for people to finally see Leon Edwards as the fraud that he has always been. Just the flukiest champion the UFC has ever seen. And I'm loving every minute. I'm loving every minute of the downfall. So count me in for more of that. Hopefully we'll see what happens next with his booking. I will say I'm with you as far as I should have had a large bet on Valentina Shevchenko. I somehow started the week calling that fight perfectly, even down to like the physicality and the crucifix position, grappling and all that stuff. Towards the end of the week, somehow the Chinese Communist Party had apparently Venmo'd me enough money to switch over to Weili Zhang by the end of the week. And I couldn't, I had no real reason for it. It was just kind of like oh man, like I started like leveling myself that I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong about this. So I passed. I stayed off of it, but it was the same thing with Sean Brady and Michael Morales, where I passed on both those fights and I would have gone 1-1. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm okay. I'm glad I kind of kept my hands in my pocket because if I had picked the wrong one of those to pull the trigger on at the end of the week and gone negative for the week, like I'm glad I'm okay. I passed on both those. It was good. I do wish that I had played the Islam Makhachev by decision in my round robins, man, because that was the thing. I did my round robin prop thing, and I picked Islam by decision on the prop show. And at the end of the week, I just, like I said, my FOMO got me. I wanted to be there for the moment when Jack cracked him with a body shot and put him down. I wanted to be there when we finally got rid of the Dagestanis in MMA, and I ended up betting on Jack instead of betting on Islam. So messed up just a little bit there on that one, but you know, the brain was in the right spot. And the one that really I do wish I had bet Bo Nickel round 3. I talked about Bo Nickel KO round 3, and then I didn't get there because I wasn't solid enough on that read. That's the one I do feel like I missed. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Clint, by the way, if you had over 2.5 rounds in Nickel versus Vieira, my word, my condolences to you.
Absolutely.
Losing an over 2.5 by 6 seconds because of a Bo Nickel Crow Cop-esque head kick KO. That would have been an all-time bad beat. And you know what's funny? I had my finger on the trigger all week. It's sitting there at minus 135. And finally I go, you know what? 2 units. Bo Nickel's not finishing anybody. Hidalgo can't take him down, and Hidalgo's not knocking anybody out. This one's going over 2.5. It switched before my eyes from 135 to minus 155. And I said, forget it. I missed it. And I was mad at myself, you know, for passing it up, you know, because like I saw it go up between, and then I'm like, you know what? Now there's no point in it. And thank God it did that, because that would have cost me a couple of units. And not only would I have lost it, it would have been a heartbreaking loss.
Yeah, that would have been tough. And Somo in the chat asking about Tsarukyan being the most nonchalant fighter ever. Man, he might be like, he's knocking on the door of a fraud check. I swear. Every single time I watch Banks or Tsarukyan fight, I want to call him a fraud. He drops his hands.
Yeah.
He plays too much. He gets clipped. He gets rocked. I mean, it looks like he's got okay enough cardio. Looks like his durability checks out okay, but you just see way too many red flags. He better button up and quick if he's really going to be anything in the UFC, because he looks like, he just smells to me, Wheezy, like one of these guys that's got all the talent in the world, but won't be able to put it together at the end of the day. We'll see if that's like really how this thing pans out. I think he's going to be just too damn good, too damn athletic, too well-trained for like the mid of the pack. But as soon as he starts getting close to contender level, that's where I think he's going to fall apart to people that just are put together more and maybe a little bit mentally tougher than he is. We'll see. We got a long way to go before then, but that's my suspicion. All right, guys. Let's get into this real quick. Of course, shout out the sponsor. We are powered by Cloud Bet. You guys, make sure you click the link in the description below. They are offering up to $2,500 in welcome bonuses when you sign up using promo code DieHardMMA. PFL is right around the corner. You can watch PFL streams and events embedded straight into the fight center here on cloudbet.com. You don't have to worry about finding it on some new streaming service. They will be right there on the site for you. And like I mentioned, you've got up to $2,500 in welcome bonuses at the end of your first month being signed up with cloudbet.com. You will unlock the cash vault, which will allow you even more additional prizes and rewards based on your play. So now is a great time to get signed up and get after it. It is UFC Qatar time. I am joined by MMA Wheezy. So you guys make sure you support him, hit the like button, share the show if you're on social media, and let's get after it. First fight of the night, we've got Marek Bujlo taking on Denzel Freeman. If you guys don't recognize either of these names, I didn't either. So don't sweat it. This is a double debutante situation, Wheezy, where we're gonna have to break down both of these men. Bujlo comes in at 6-0, undefeated, 32 years old. All 6 of those wins are round 1 finishes. And as usual, when we get these types of situations, he looks like a Dana White's Contender Series type fighter. It's soft competition. You look at everybody that he's beaten, and it looks like it's really soft competition. So is he really UFC caliber at 6-0? I don't know. He looks like he's really physically strong. He does have good underhooks. He's got nasty ground and pound. When he gets on top of people, he goes to work with those elbows. I do like that. And it seems like he's very aggressive, gliding into, side control and mount positions. I like what I see from his ground game. But again, he hasn't faced any adversity so far. And I wonder what he's going to look like when he faces any kind of pressure whatsoever. Denzel Freeman, 6-1. He is 34 years old. This guy was an LFA champion making his debut here in the UFC at the ripe old age of 34, which is weird. I always get a little weirded out by these 34, 35-year-old people that get signed to the UFC, that it's like, hey, great, glad you made it to the show, but you're probably cannon fodder. They're probably going to ship you to a couple of up-and-comers and then boot you right out the door. Now, he's fighting a guy who's only 2 years younger than him, which, again, is weird. Both these guys getting signed at this point in their careers, but we'll see what happens. He got signed by the PFL back in 2023, fought pretty well, lost a split decision. So maybe, he's had a taste of upper-level competition, at least a little bit. He does have a loss to Johnny Eblen on the amateur circuit from when he was younger. So if anybody's been battle tested of these two, Freeman seems to have the better resume, even though those are losses. He's a big, thick guy. He's got very active hands. He's got a good jab. He's underrated when it comes to how quick he is. He looks like a guy who shouldn't be able to move like he does. He's very calm. He's very relaxed, but he doesn't move his head. He backs straight up, Wheezy. He is very hittable. I have seen him cage push to kind of reset. When he gets clocked and he needs a second to recover, he can shove you up against the fence heavyweight style, but he constantly walks his way backwards to the cage. It's like he's trying to bait you into a big shot that just never comes. So I think both these guys are bad, Wheezy. I'm just going to say it. I think both these guys are bad. Myktybek looks really good, and I think he's a viable fraud check in the coming years. But Denzel Freeman is a guy who may just not have it, period. So I don't know. This is a really tough fight to start the card off. I am not interested in betting this fight one way or the other. We need to take notes on both of these men. I will lean ever so slightly to Marek Bujlo, just because with that finishing prowess and how I've seen Denzel Freeman's head get cracked backwards, I kind of feel like he's going to land something big, and that'll be the beginning of the end. But really zero confidence in that play, Wheezy. And not play, pick, because I'm not betting it. So what about you on this one?
Yeah, so I started watching the tape on this one last night, and I was kind of surprised because I felt like Bujlo is one of these guys that's coming in, and I'm not sure why he's here, because there's tape of two of his fights. Those fights have lasted a grand total of about 3 minutes. He got the same takedown in both fights, which was basically hugging the dude, putting his chin in the guy's throat, and then just falling forward, and it worked against the competition that he was fighting. And then he passes to mount and he ground and pounds you out or finds a submission, but no level of competition, third-rate Eastern European regional scene competition here, and a pure grappler. You could tell that he's completely uncomfortable at distance striking range because his two fights spend about 97% of the time in grappling range, where he just immediately closes the range on his opponent. Now, Freeman, on the other hand, there's a ton of tape of this guy. And then you look at the accolades, right? This is an NAIA finalist in college freestyle wrestling. He was an Olympic hopeful in Greco-Roman wrestling, and he's got the much, much, much better striking compared to Bujlo because, and I have to say this because there's just no tape of Bujlo striking whatsoever. So usually if you're clinching up 8 seconds into a fight, it's not because you got phenomenal striking, So this guy Bujlo is a pure grappler, but when I'm looking at a grappler versus grappler matchup, I want to know A, who the better striker is, and I want to know B, who's the better offensive and defensive wrestler. And in both cases, it's Denzel Freeman. And then when you look at strength of schedule, strength of wins, strength of opponent, they're not even anywhere in the same stratosphere. Freeman's got wins over Cunha, Asplund, who just got signed to the UFC. He's faced Isaiah Pinson, who's a pretty solid young prospect who played offensive line in the NFL. So the guy's an amazing athlete. And I thought Freeman won that fight, by the way. So Freeman's got the better offensive and defensive wrestling. He's faced a much better brand of competition. I've seen this guy go 3 rounds and show phenomenal conditioning in the heavyweight division, which isn't easy to do. And I think he's going to be able to dictate whether this fight takes place standing or whether it goes to the mat. And if you think Marek Bujlo is going to out-wrestle Denzel Freeman, then how come Hugo Cunha couldn't? because Hugo Cunha is a national wrestling champion in Brazil. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We've actually seen Hugo Cunha in the cage against real MMA regional scene competition, which we can't say for Bujlo. Denzel Freeman opened as an underdog. I started to write this fight up, and before the line dropped, and I said, Denzel Freeman's good here at anything better than minus 300. I saw him at minus 140. I played 3 units. I'm very happy with this. I think this line is going to go a long way because there's no tape on Bujlo. He's never fought anyone with a pulse, and he's going to have to out-grapple somebody who's an American grappler, not a Euro trash grappler. These guys can't wrestle for shit. If you're not from Georgia, if you're not from Dagestan or Chechnya or Ossetia in the Russian areas where they can really wrestle, the American wrestler is always going to be better than the European wrestler. And then you add to that this guy Freeman actually has wrestling accolades. Yeah, man, I think this is a very simple fight to break down. I think Denzel Freeman's going to run this dude into a dick saw.
Okay, there you have it, everybody. And my guy Barry in the chat asking, what are the odds? Well, Wheezy already has beaten the line. Right now, BetOnline is the only place that I see that has odds. Don't bet there. Wait for it to come out on CloudBet. Bet there instead. Minus 150 right now for Freeman. Plus 130 coming back the other way. Interesting that he opened up the underdog. So we'll see how aggressively this line moves. Wheezy saying this is good until minus 300. That's the kind of endorsement that you just kind of blindly tail if you trust your boy. So I might have to jump in there a little bit before it gets too far out of hand. But I don't feel comfortable with this fight, Wheezy, not one little bit. I'm glad you've got a good, solid, strong stance on it. I wish you luck. That's a big bet, and I hope you absolutely crush that. Next up, you guys, we have got Serghei Gaziev taking on Nicholas Dalby. This one's rough for me, Wheezy. And why is that? Because it's a Nicholas Dalby fight. Every single Nick Dalby fight, you guys know, this guy is the bane of my existence. Nick Dalby and Randy Brown, the two people I can't pick to save my ass. Dalby is now 41 years old. And he's coming off his first ever true finish loss, right? Like, we all know the Jesse Ronson situation where he could absolutely melt a toilet with his urine. He pissed so hot that night. He was the first one to finish Nick Dalby. It didn't go on the record. It was no contest. This is his first clean, true, real, record-breaking finish loss. Randy Brown smoked him in their last fight, put him down, and now he's making a relatively I guess it was April, so it's not that quick of a turnaround, but he's coming back around at 41 years old after getting knocked out, and I just don't have a good grip on him, right? I know what this guy is, but I can't ever pick whether or not he's going to win a fight, Wheezy. Sometimes what he does works, and it works perfectly. He comes out and cage pushes people. They can't close the distance. He ends up in like a low-volume split decision fight where they give him a clean 29-28 across all 3 judges' scorecards. I feel like he's getting hit with bigger shots and should have lost, but he wins, and everybody agrees he wins except for me. Like, I can just never get a Nick Dalby fight right. He's a good wrestler. He's got decent pop. He's got good striking, solid power, but he's a decision machine. It just kind of is what it is. The older he gets, the more I expect him to lose, and we'll see what happens. But he's taking on Serghei, who's coming over from ONE FC. This guy is 31 years old, 22-2 professional record. The last time we saw him fight was in 2022. He had a huge knockout win over Shinya Aoki, who is a kind of a big deal. Right. So beating a guy like that, it was a long time ago. He was stuck in contract hell. It sounds like that seems to be the reason why he wasn't active over the last couple of years. ONE FC was pretty well known recently for putting people in awful situations and kind of keeping them buttoned down with the contracts that they had. So that's kind of what we're suspecting happened with this guy. And he lost some years of his prime, unfortunately, due to that situation. Now he's finally getting a crack over here at the UFC, and he's getting a notable name that'll jump on his resume and kind of make him stand out pretty quickly if he comes out and wins this fight impressively. The way he's built, He reminds me a little bit of Tagir Ulanbekov, where he's kind of tall, skinny, muscly. He's shredded. He's got a little muscle on him, but he's a little skinny for the weight class, but he's got that height and reach on people because of it. Really lanky, long, thin legs. He loads up on these long range shots, and it's kind of big, powerful, one at a time pop shots. He's got a very crispy jab, which I like. He does have big takedowns, so he can change it up when he needs to. He can suck your legs out and dump you on the mat, end up heavy on top. He's got a real strong top game, very smothering pressure the way he gets up there, and he's got good killer instinct. When he has people hurt and wobbled, he goes in for the kill, and he goes in for the kill early. So I do think this is a spot, Wheezy, where the UFC is trying to welcome this guy over. I do think they're trying to give him a notable opponent, but somebody who also is, older, beatable, somebody they can rob if they need to. We are in Qatar, mind you. So I think this is a fight that's completely set up for Saeed to go ahead and get propped back up and really start his UFC run here. He's going to be a decent-sized favorite in this spot. Let me see. I am, for some reason, not finding that line.
Around minus 300.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. It's one of those ones where I'm not seeing the line, but I knew he was going to be favored.
Yeah.
So he is right around a minus 300 favorite. It looks like, if you can find that one. The odds are kind of popping up willy-nilly on this card, you guys. So bear with us. We're one of the first shows to market, as you know, and because of that, not everything is always ready to go for us. But expect him to be a big favorite. And frankly, Wheezy, expect him to win pretty convincingly. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sold on this guy at all. This is a Yakhyaev, because they tried to get him into the UFC before. They were Habib had called his boy Dana and said, "Look, man, I got a guy that's going to be, tearing up the entire UFC. Let's set him up with an easy fight." For Dana White's looking for a fight in Eagle FC a few years ago, and we'll give him some bum from a country that nobody's ever heard of, Guyana. Let's give him Carlston Harris. He's had some tough fights in Brave. We'll let Yakhyaev run through him, and then he'll be in the UFC. Didn't work out for him, because Yakhyaev had fought a bunch of bums, and then he went up against Carlston Harris. Carlston didn't go away early like these other losers he was fighting, and he gave up. And he got caught in a choke late in the fight, and it looked pretty bad too, because everybody was already putting this kid in the UFC. He's Habib's boy. It's Eagle FC. They're bringing somebody in from Guyana to fight him. And it didn't work out for him. And then he goes over to one, and he starts fighting a bunch of Asian dudes and Brazilians, that have to travel 24 hours to get to wherever it is that they're fighting. And he looks pretty good. Uses contract negotiations as an excuse to not fight for 3 years now. 3 years. And then I got to say something, man. If you've been away from the cage for 3 years, you don't want to fight somebody like Nicholas Dalby, because Dalby's not going to let you ease into the fight. Dalby doesn't let anybody do that. Dalby doesn't let you be technical. He puts you on your back foot. He clinches up. He throws more than you. He's extremely durable up until the Randy Brown fight, where we had heard that he had been knocked out in training. First time that Dalby had to pull out of a fight. Before the Randy Brown fight and after the Fakhretdinov fight, he had to pull out of a fight. We didn't know why, but then during the interviews during press week, Nick had said that he had been knocked out in training. That's always a bad sign for somebody that's a 40-year-old fighter. But is Yakhyaev have power? No, man, he's a crotch sniffer. He's 13-1 to the sub. He's a Dagestani that's not a particularly good striker. So this is not a good matchup for him, in my opinion. However, it's Nick Dalby. He's 41 years old, and he's coming off the first knockout loss of his career. So the momentum isn't there, and Father Time is undefeated. And while Dalby does have the kind of style that could give somebody like Yakhyaev problems, he's also 41 and coming off a knockout loss about 6 months ago. And it's going to be hard to fight at that pace with that much pressure and really trust your chin as you get older and older and older, which is what's happening to Nick here. 32 professional fights, 400 minutes of professional cage time. So it's tough because, you get why Dalby's the big underdog here. He's going against the Dagestani that trains with Habib, and the guy's got this really shiny 22-2 record, but anytime he's faced somebody with a pulse, he's lost, and he's voluntarily stayed away from the cage for 3 years. You know, I don't know what his contract problems were, Clint, but he's making 12-12 in the UFC. So something tells me, that this wasn't as much about money as it was about maybe this guy. I don't know, man. I'm not sold on him. He's minus 300 against a guy with 7 UFC wins, who's got a ton of heart, who never fucks off, who stays in your face constantly, and wins as a fucking underdog way more than he should. So, I'm not telling anybody to lay this kind of juice on this Yakhyaev. I think he's got a ton to prove.
Weezy, old me, and I'm not, guys, I am not doing well in 2025, but I am at least learning from my mistakes. 9 months ago, last year, I'd be parlaying this guy up, trying to fade Dalby in this spot, right? I do think he should come out here and win this fight. I do think it's set up for him to do that. And I do think they're putting him in a place on planet Earth where everyone will just kind of look the other way. The FBI can't get to Qatar right now. So if they want to rob somebody, this is the guy, right? So 9 months ago, I'd have parlayed this guy up and been like, smash spot, baby. I ain't touching it, Weezy. I'm right there with you. I understand everything that you are saying. This is not a spot where I want to have my money tied in because I have been burnt by Nicholas Dalby one too many times, especially in this exact kind of spot where he's a big underdog. He's being counted out. He shouldn't have any way to come in here and do what he's going to do. But we have questions about this guy. And now you guys know also my typical fade the road to UFC thing, right? It is not necessarily specifically about Asian fighters, but a lot of times you can get a softer level of competition over in Asia, especially with some of the freak show fights they put on, the weird matchmaking, stuff like that. It's a different ball game. So this guy doing well over there, missing 3 years, and then now transferring over to the US and the UFC, we don't know what we're getting. So just be careful. Have a good read if you're going to put your hard-earned money on this fight before you do anything hasty. Don't just click in and parlay and be like, no, I'm good. It's fine. Like, think about it. Just sit tight. Think about it. Make sure you're confident in your play before you click a button, and good luck. Godspeed. I'm not touching this fight. All right, guys. Next up, we've got Aliev, and he's taking on Shaqueme Rock. And Shem is making his UFC debut here this week, and I think a lot of people are a little bit excited about Shem here in this spot, Weezy. He looks like a really interesting prospect. 12-1-1, 32 years old. He's coming over from Octagon, and it's interesting because we're going to talk about his opponent, Aliev, in a minute here. He's the exact opposite of Aliev. This kid's a beast. This kid's a finisher. I mean, he's got one fight that's gone the distance. So everything he does is inside the distance. He takes everybody out of there. He controls the range very well. He's got kind of a karate style. He has those side kicks where he kind of kicks the lead leg or the body to keep that distance. And then he explodes in from range. He's got good knees to the body when he gets into the clinch. We don't see him on his back very often looking through the tape, but when you do, he's got a good butterfly guard. So he knows how to create space. He knows how to look for reversals and sweeps and get-ups. He looks like he's got decent offensive grappling himself. The couple of times that he has ended up in those kinds of spots, he's been able to reverse position and start putting the pressure on his opponents. His level changes are very fast. He's very quick, and he looks for damage in almost all positions. So, like, instead of being a control grappler like one of these Dagestanis, he'll get the body lock and then let go to land 4 or 5 big power shots instead of dragging you to the ground. So, better or for worse, he's a UFC product guy, right? He's going to do damage. He's going to look for finishes. It's a whole hell of a lot more fun to watch. His opponent, Aliev, 24 years old, 2-0 in the UFC so far off of Dana White's Contender Series. This guy is a decision machine, Weezy. Just a mauling top pressure grappler. I talked about how excited I was for him to make it to the UFC, mostly from a betting perspective, because he'll put you to sleep. He's not going to be in an exciting fight. He will grind you for 15 straight minutes, stay on top of you, never give you a chance to really breathe, but also not hurt you all that much. That's the kind of guy that we're dealing with here. He will shoot from way outside. He does not look comfortable yet when it comes to his striking. And I mean, we're talking, he will dive on legs. Like, this guy does not want to be in the pocket with you. He's good, strong cardio, smothering grappler. You get what you see with this guy. He's a 3-1 favorite in this spot. And man, I would love to roll the dice here on Shem. I'm really high on Aleksandre, Wheezy. I think he's just going to smother people for a long time. He's young. He's got good cardio. He's got good toughness. He's got durability. I want to see these guys face off. I want to see what the size and height difference is here because, like I said, the UFC would much rather have a guy like Shem coming in here and making waves and putting up highlight reel finishes and stuff like that. But we're in Qatar. Nurullo Aleksandre, probably the hometown kid. We'll see what happens. I'm expecting Aleksandre by decision, but I'm going to be cheering for some excitement and hoping that Shem gets it done inside the distance. What about you?
Yeah, I think you and I are pretty much of like minds on this fight. You know, Shamrock's the exciting prospect. He's the one that's going to be a fan-friendly fighter that's going to be in fights that probably finish. Nurullo Aleksandre is the complete opposite of that. He's a crotch sniffer, and that's it. You could say other things, but there's really nothing else to say. He sniffs crotch, and that's it. And that's how he wins. He's going to win minutes and bank rounds by taking you down, sniffing crotch, landing the occasional ground and pound. And they'll probably stand you up a few times. The kid will bite you. He'll poke you in the eye. And every strike that he throws has nothing to do with striking and everything to do with setting up his takedown. So, I think he's just one of the most predictable fighters in the UFC. The second he starts throwing strikes, he's looking for a takedown, and that's all you need to know. And once he takes you down, he's looking to camp out in your guard and stay there for as long as humanly possible, taking as little risk as possible and taking as little damage as possible, Clint. I always say it, man. Dominant fighters, like it or not, don't take damage. And so, while we saw two of the most dominant performances in the history of the UFC last night with Valentina Shevchenko and Islam Makhachev, it may have pissed off a lot of fans who paid to watch those fights. But I fucking promise you, if you had money on Valentina, if you had money on Islam Makhachev, you were laughing your ass off. You were enjoying those fights in a way that people enjoy listening to their favorite band, in the way that film buffs love watching their favorite movies, you know, in a way that people that enjoy porn, watching their favorite porn stars do their thing, you know. It's about watching somebody great at what they do their thing. Nurullo Aliyev's thing is putting the fucking fans to sleep and putting money in the pocket of the people who back him. That's why he's minus 300 here. And we talked about it already with Bujlo versus Freeman. You've got a legit wrestler here in Aleksandre against a grappler in Rock. Who's the better striker? It's Rock. But who's the better wrestler? It's probably Aleksandre. And if Aleksandre is the better offensive and defensive wrestler here, then he's going to be the one that dictates where this fight takes place. And if you let Nurullo do that, he's going to dictate that you're going to be on your back, he's going to be above you, and he's going to be winning minutes and banking rounds. So I'm thinking Aleksandre by decision, but I'll be rooting for Shamrock. But I'll tell you, man, if you're rooting for Shamrock, you're probably going to be disappointed, and you're probably going to be like, stand him up, do something, make this guy do something. You're going to be screaming at the TV like you would have been screaming at the TV if you bet on Weili or if you bet on JDM last night. So I think it's going to be Nurullo here, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're going to need some help from the officials probably on that one. And Moist in the chat saying anti-Shemitism will not be tolerated. That is hysterical. I love it. I'm going to have to be careful reading that, though. YouTube's probably going to flag me and absolutely shut down the channel now because I said that. But so we got to be careful. But Moist, that's funny. Funny, dude. Love it. All right. Ryan Loader, the Man of Steel, takes on Ismail Naurdiev, the Nard Dog himself, coming back here for this UFC card. Wheezy, I hate this fight.
Me too.
I hate this fight. Let's get it right out there, okay? Ismail Naurdiev, Wheezy, is like a second tier fraud, right? We've got frauds, and then you've got the guys that you're like, we all know your ass, and somehow you're still here. Like, as much as I love Sam Alvey, the last 2-3 fights of his run in the UFC was like, where are the bodies at, bro? Like, you should have been gone forever ago. That is Ismail Naurdiev. We're talking he's Hamdi level fraud, right? Like, why are you here, bro? He's 24-8. He's 29 years old. He got cut after losing to Sean Brady back in 2020. And that's not so bad, right? Sean Brady's a contender these days. That's not a bad loss. He goes 4-3 outside the UFC, Wheezy.
Yeah, I know.
4-3. And for some reason, the UFC brings him back with a 500 regional record. Why would they ever bring you back? I don't understand it. So he gets a second run in the UFC. He's now 1-1 in that second run. And his only win is against Bruno, the guy who just got his skull smashed in, and they had to talk him into going back into the cage because he retired 2 fights ago. And for some reason, they kept walking his corpse back into the UFC anyway. Like, legitimately, I'm a fan of MMA and I love the combat sports, but like, he should be suing everybody for walking him knowingly to his funeral in the UFC. You put a guy in a horrific situation, and now he's got a terrible injury that could affect his longevity because they just kept rolling him out there. That's the guy who Naurdiev beat. And then what happened in his next fight? He goes out there against Park, and he fouls this man worse than Tom Aspinall. He pokes him twice in the eye. He kicks him in the dick. Like, Park cannot see, Wheezy. He's out there with one eye, and he's like guessing when the official puts the finger up to how many fingers am I? You always guess 2, guys. Always guess 2. That's the trick. Anyway, Park looks like he could either take the easy way out or he's going to gut it out and go and get finished like a man, like most of these people do, right? The Iron Turtle's such a badass. He puts it on this kid. He starts rolling downhill. Like, Naurdiev goes from, oh, I won via finish to, oh, shit, I'm about to get disqualified. Oh, never mind. Lame duck, easy money. What the fuck is happening? Like, the roller coaster of emotions in this fight, especially for somebody like myself who had money on Park, because I will fade the Nard dog at every possible opportunity. It was beautiful. It was beautiful watching Park come back and win that fight. At any rate, it just shows you how awful Naurdiev is, that he had a wounded animal in front of him and lost a decision of all things, right? He throws everything hard and tires himself out. He does throw 2 to 3 punch combos, which I do like. He does throw flying knees and spinning attacks and stuff like that, but he slows down so bad when the fights get extended, Wheezy. His cardio is ass. He completely drops off a cliff. And I think that's because he's fighting at the wrong weight class. This guy is too small at 185 pounds. You go to his regional stuff, and he's a 170 fighter, but he never actually fights at 170. He's having everybody sign the contract at catch weights of 175. He doesn't actually cut down to 170 pounds. And then in the UFC, he's just smaller than everybody and tries to fight at 185 instead. He should be sucking it up and fighting down at 170 pounds if he was going to be at all successful. But God, his cardio would probably be even worse if he did that. Now, his opponent, Ryan Loder, 7-2. Ultimate Fighter winner, 34 years old. Another one of these prospects who's old enough to retire right around the corner. His win to get into the UFC and to beat everybody on the Ultimate Fighter to get his hand raised was over Robzilla. Now, you guys know I love Rob Valentin. He's a chaotic fighter. He's got God of War runic tattoos. Like, he's fun. He's everything right about MMA. He's not good. He's not good. He's not UFC caliber. He's not going to be a title contender, whatever. So this 34-year-old man beats that guy, and that win has aged horribly. And then he gets smoked by Azamat Bekov in round 1 in his next fight. So he's 1-1 in the UFC if you count the Ultimate Fighter finale as a UFC level win. He is pretty relentless with his takedowns. He's got lots of big kicks to close the range. That is one thing. He's got those big, thick running back thighs, and he'll kick you at range. He's got clubbing power in his overhand when he like feints the takedown and goes with the big one. He does have heavy top pressure. He's a wet blanket when he gets on top of you, but he's really sloppy on the feet, Wheezy. This guy is not going to be good when it comes to like MMA scoring. If he gets in real fights, he's going to lose them. This is a battle of frauds. And that's the problem for me. I want to fade both of these guys. I want to bet the draw because I think they both should lose. Ismail Naurdiev is a slight favorite here in this spot. You can get plus 110 on Ryan Loder. And Oh God, if I had to, if you told me, Clint, here's $5,000 and I want you to put it on this fight and I have to bet it on this fight, there's no other option. It must be this fight. I'm fading Naurdiev. I would put the money on Loder, Wheezy. I will say dog or pass from a betting perspective. And the only thing I could say is maybe sprinkled around 3, something like that. As Ismail Naurdiev falls off, you got to think he quits on himself. We've seen it before. He's done it multiple times. He gets down on himself. I do think he'll be able to get extended and then start to quit and be the smaller man, physically speaking. So yeah, it's dog or pass for me. It's Ryan Loder at plus money. God, I probably shouldn't bet this fight though.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, and here's the reason why. It's I think there's some pretty good reasons to get to that Loder side, but he's going to Qatar. That's a huge, huge, huge deal. Making that long trip to fight somebody in Ismail Naurdiev, who was born in Russia, who has always trained in Austria. What flag does he have next to his name? Morocco? I wonder why that is. Probably because somebody's paying him a shit ton of money to pretend like he's fucking from Morocco, which he isn't. Sometimes these guys that got all the money, they can tell you, hey, come train with us. There's these guys that train in Bahrain, guys like Gaziev, guys like Murtaza Talha Ali. These are Russians who put that Bahraini flag next to their name. Why? Because the Bahrainis got a shit ton of oil and therefore a shit ton of money. And a lot of these guys in Morocco are probably doing the same thing, kind of sponsoring Ismail Naurdiev, which leads me to believe that if this fight goes to decision, what are the chances that Ryan Loder, the American wrestler, is going to get his hand raised over, the probably guy slim. That's lived everywhere but Morocco, but has the Moroccan flag next to his name, right? So I think, Loder's terrible at distance striking range, but he's very durable. He's going to be very hard to knock out. Even Bekzat didn't knock him down, I don't think. Or, maybe he knocked him down, but he didn't knock him out. The ref had to step in and stop that one. But, Loder was getting his clock cleaned. I'm not saying that wasn't the case. I'm saying the dude's durable. I'm saying you got to hit him in the head with a shovel to get him out of there. So if he doesn't get him out of there and Ryan is able to get to advantageous positions on the ground, he's very dangerous there. You do not want Ryan Loder on top of you. If that dude gets on top of you, it's going to be serious problems because he's got excellent positional control and he throws really hard ground and pound. So, yeah. I think if Ryan gets on top of this dude, he's going to finish him. The question
Loder probably needs a finish.
Yeah, and he might need that finish, like I say, because Naurdiev's a good enough wrestler in his own right, but both of these guys spend less than 50% of their time at distance striking range. For Naurdiev, it's 45%, and for Loder, it's only 19%. So I think that this fight is going to come down to who the better offensive and defensive wrestler is, because that person will be able to control the pace and location of this fight. I think that's Loder, but I can't back him making a trip all the way to Qatar to fight somebody who's probably just skipping right over from Morocco to Qatar, which would be a much shorter trip.
I like it. And Weezy, I just got my 23andMe back and I've got 0.02% Moroccan. So if they want to sponsor the podcast, I'll put the flag up in the background. Give me some of that oil money, Grandpa. Let's freaking go. D, what's up, buddy?
Put in a good word for me if they sponsor you, man. I'll take some of that oil money.
We look like we could be related. I'll make a call, man. Was first of us to get sponsored by Morocco. We'll make sure we'll hook something up here, you guys. All right. Next up, everybody, we have got Bekzat Almakhan, and he's taking on Aleksandre Topuria. That's right, the other Topuria, the reason that Ilya refuses to fight in the year of our Lord 2025, because of course, I have to get absolutely boned on end of year champion props because this guy sits on the sidelines for 9 months at a freaking time. Happened to me last year. Going to happen to me again this year, and I'm a little upset about it, Wheezy, if you couldn't tell. Aleksandre Topuria, 6-1, 29 years old. He is 1-0 in the UFC. beat Colby Thickness in his UFC debut, and he is extremely similar, physically speaking, to Ilya. He's got that large upper body, right? All shoulders, all chest, very short. Short, stocky little rectangle of a man. Walks forward and throws heavies, man. He's got a big, powerful body lock takedown, smash and pass style grappling, which I do actually really enjoy watching. He's always got that right hand cocked because that's his moneymaker. That's where he's got the power, right? The Topuria family power is registered in that right hand. So he's always got it back and ready to go. He dropped Colby in his UFC debut about 10 seconds in and then couldn't get him out of there, which was kind of weird. I really thought he was going to flatline him and just end things, and he wasn't able to, follow up on that shot for a while. But everything is set up. He's a lot like Left Hand to Fraud, who just got cut by the UFC, except it's the right hand for this kid. He does have one KO loss. You go back to 2015, which is pretty funny. The guy that he lost to, it's absolutely like a step up. It's absolutely like a silver platter fight gone wrong, right? The guy he fought was like a 40-year-old that was supposed to be a resume boofer and caught him instead. Dude hasn't fought since. Retired right after that one. Was like, I'm out. I'm good. Thank you very much for playing. So his opponent here is Bekzat Almakhan, and you guys know this is my sleeper, right? If this was fantasy football, Wheezy, this would be my sleeper pick of the year. People don't get how good Bekzat is. He's 12-2. He's just barely coming into his prime. He is 1-1 so far in the UFC, but his first loss was none other than Umar Nurmagomedov. That's right, the man who would be king, the guy who should have UFC gold wrapped around his waist, if not for one freaking round in what was it, February that they fought. He still would be champion right now if he had got that win over Marab early to start the year. He smoked Brad Katona. Bekzat almost kills Umar in round one. The reason everybody questions Umar is because this guy punched him in the side of the head. Nobody gave him credit. Everybody wanted to pull down Umar because of that. Well, we knew, Wheezy, we knew. So when they matched him up against Brad Katona in his next fight, it was Bekzat by KO all week. I screamed it from the mountaintops for everybody to hear. He smoked Brad Katona, a guy known for being durable. My favorite thing about Bekzat, he is not a one-hitter quitter front-loaded fighter, you guys. He has 3 knockout wins in the first round. All of his other knockouts come in round 2 and round 3. This guy actually carries his power deeper into fights. He's patient, and he sets them up. He can knock your block off 15 seconds into the fight, but that's not his only path to victory. And in fact, you look historically, he finishes most of his fights deeper in because he knows how to break people down systematically. He's training out of ATT, so we don't see a lot of it, but we know he should be able to grapple, at least defensively, if he wants to get up on his feet and strike. We just haven't seen enough of him, Wheezy. So it's a little bit of a leap of faith situation. It's a little bit of, I think I got something brewing here. We just need time to see the rest of it. He's pick'em against Topuria. He opened up as a slight underdog. This line has been ping-ponging back and forth, minus 115s, minus 120s on either side. So, be patient. Maybe you'll get plus money on your side, depending on where this lands. I think the Topuria name is carrying Aleksandre to some point here. And I think Bekzat is the real prospect here, Wheezy. I was going to make him my Link Memorial Dog of the Week, but I am not going to make an even money pick'em person Dog of the Week. I'm not going to disrespect my boy Linky that way. So I can't do that for you right now, you guys, but I will be betting Bekzat. I do think he wins this fight, and I think this is the moment where he puts those questions everyone has to rest, because it was just Brad Katona, Wheezy. It was just Brad Katona. Yeah. They're still counting him out. We're going to get one more shot at this guy at even money. And then that's long gone, you guys. When he knocks Topuria's head around on Saturday, he's going to be minus 250 next time. Get it while you can.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight because, we don't know very much about Bekzat yet because the Umar Nurmagomedov fight really didn't teach us much. Of course he was going to lose that fight. That fight should have never even been made. How that fight got made in the first place was fucking laughable. And it shows how these Dagestani fighters, how risk averse they are. A guy like Umar, whose last scheduled fight was supposed to be a main event against Corey Sandhagen, gets hurt, takes like 18 months off. And then there's no way that they're signing Bekzat Almakhan to fight Umar Nurmagomedov unless Umar's people said, hey, sign somebody that is going to be a warm-up fight for us, right? And it didn't even turn out to be that easy of a warm-up fight. I mean, Umar had never got anywhere close to finishing him, and he got put on his ass at one point. And then Bekzat went out there and beat Brad Katona, who's, just somebody that is one of the least likable and watchable fighters in the UFC. So we don't know. And with Topuria, we know even less about him. I feel like I know everything I need to know about Aleksandre Topuria. I feel like he's a fake fighter. I feel like he's cosplaying as a fighter. He sees his brother doing it. He coaches his brother.
He's an Azatar brother, Wheezy.
Yeah. I think he's he's a fake fighter. This guy's got a 10.5-year MMA career, and he's shown up to fight 7 different times. And he's fought exactly one person with a pulse, and that person was a short notice replacement over Cody Haddon, who had to pull out. And, it was a fight week replacement. And Alex looked good, man. He's got good he looks like the coach's son. But the coach's son that is being forced to do something that he never wanted to do. Because, if you're a real fighter, you're out there taking tough fights. You're Aleksandre Topuria's brother. Go out there and sign with a real regional scene organization and take a real fight. He never even did that. And then accepted, the first fight in the UFC. So, he's here because of his older brother's name, and he's got a lot to prove still. However, we got to give him his flowers for the performance against Thickness, because Colby came out there in his next fight as an underdog and beat Josias Musasa, right? And how did he beat him? By taking him down and winning a bunch of minutes on top. Well, turns out that Colby was 0 for 8 on takedowns against Aleksandre. Aleksandre showed really good boxing, in my opinion, and he showed excellent takedown defense, and he was landing the bigger shots at range. It wasn't a spectacular performance by any stretch of the imagination, but at least he proved he's not just there because it's his brother, and at least he proved he could go a full 15 minutes against somebody that actually was an MMA fighter rather than somebody with an 0-1 record. Or a 1-11 record, And
I know
it's taking
Weezy,
6 years off between fights too.
I gotta jump in, Weezy. I know it's MMA math, and MMA math doesn't work, but Josias Musasa really just gives me Dana White's fraud vibes.
Oh yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? So I know Colby did what he had to do. You can only fight the people you can sign the contract for. Yeah. So I get it. He got the win. Good for. I don't think Musasa is anything good. I'm not sure that one means much.
Yeah, it doesn't mean much, but he still won in the UFC in his next fight after losing to Topuria. So,
yeah,
Topuria looks like he's got some pretty good takedown defense and some pretty good boxing, and he trains with his brother. And his brother's the greatest mixed martial arts artist in the world right now. He might go down as the GOAT. He's got John Jones vibes, Anderson Silva vibes right now. That's how good Ilia Topuria's performances have been in the UFC octagon. So this guy's related to him. So he's still got a lot to prove, in my opinion. And Almakhan's going to be a really good test for him, because this is a tough Kazakhstani kid with some good wrestling, 10-0 to the KO, 1-1 to the submission, and he's proven that he can wrestle at this level. So I kind of like it, man. I think Bekzat's probably the better all-around fighter, and he's the real fighter. He's been fighting for a year and a half less as a pro than Aleksandre has, yet he's got twice as many professional fights. So and even Aleksandre, coming off a pretty easy win over Colby Thickness, he still waits 9 months to take his next fight. Kind of pathetic, in my opinion. I don't think he's a real fighter, but we'll see. He's got real talent. He's got a real skill set. I just don't think he wants to be here.
Yeah. And we'll see, you guys. This is the only struggle for me. This would be like a max bet season type situation for me if we weren't in freaking Qatar, because we know when we head out to the Middle East how corrupt these judges are. We know the guys that are supposed to win in Qatar. And so while normally speaking, I would think the Kazakhstani guy would be the one that probably gets the nod. When you're taking on Ilia Topuria's little brother, you don't know who's got the multi-million-dollar bet down. You don't know which side the hometown gambling crowd is on and who needs to get their hand raised. So, while even geographically, I'm like, Bekzat probably is okay here, we don't know that for sure. So I will be betting Bekzat. It's not going going to be a hammer smash type of spot like it was last week with Carlos Prates and Benoit Saint-Denis. It's going to be a normal bet because he should win. Like Weezy said, he's the real fighter. I'm hyped on him, but there are enough red flags for me to go, okay, we need to just be calm about this, because if there's anyone who's going to get robbed, Qatar is the place to do it. So I can't lose a split decision here and go down with the ship on a coin flip price tag, because I think I've got an angle. I expect him to win. Hopefully it's a KO and we never see the judges. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. And backstab banned, immediately banned. Bears fans, Packers fans, Lions fans, each and every one of you, banned for lifetime. Get out of here.
Your Vikings got what they were coming to them yesterday, my friend. Week one, the real ones never forget those bullshit holding and pass interference calls that screwed the Bears out of the win in week one against the Vikings. So and by the way, I went out to Costco. We were up 16-3. And then I come home after not checking my phone from Costco, and we're down 17-16 with 4 seconds left. And I'm like, what?
Talk to your defense, Wheezy. Talk to your defense. We should have won that game. If McCarthy could play outside of the final 2 minutes of a game, we win that game looking away.
Yeah, I can't believe they blew that lead. I didn't see how it happened. I just got home and I saw Cairo Santos lining up a field goal. I didn't realize he had missed one earlier too. And I was like, "I'll watch him miss this one. We're gonna go 0-2 against the Vikings, man."
I have never seen, like, I am trying to not turn on JJ McCarthy. I've been the guy just like pounding the drum on he's gonna be good. KOC's got this. Like, we're gonna be all right. Like, but I've never seen a human being who is all clutch and can't do anything else. So, like, you put all the pressure in the world on this kid and he shines. He's an absolute star. But you ask him to toss me the ball in a Costco parking lot and he's going to sail it by 10 feet over my head. I've never seen anything like it. It is so confusing and it's extremely aggravating, because the fourth quarter comes around and you're about to see some shit. Do not change the channel when the Vikings are down in the fourth quarter this year, you guys. But the whole rest of the game is just hands in the face. Like, what are we doing? It's insane, dude. It's tough to be a Vikings fan this year. Oh my Lord. All right, you guys, continuing with the ONE FC game plan here from the UFC. We've got Kyoji Horiguchi making his glorious return to the UFC. He takes it on Tagir Ulanbekov. And you guys know Tagir is the lesser of, in my opinion, right? I always say that every time I break his fights down. He is good enough to be good, but he's not good enough to be great. He is 34 years old. He is 4-2 in his last 6. He's coming off wins over Azat Maxim and Clayton Carpenter. Very tall. Rather than being the short and compact Dagestani, he's a striker type, but he's got that nasty front choke series. So you've always got to watch out. You got to protect your neck. Shout out my guy from the Protect Your Neck podcast, Dan. And then he gets you shooting and then attacks that neck immediately, uses that to get on top of you, uses that to stay heavy on top of you. He ends up in closest fights, though, sometimes when he gets extended, and that worries me a little bit. Like, you look back at that split decision loss against Nascimento. I know that was a long time ago, but a guy like Tim Elliott was able to outwork him. So I think good cardio, good wrestling, you can get out hustled. I actually thought Clayton Carpenter might be a guy that would be able to pull that off in his last fight, but he is showing that he is a slight level above that. Now, Horiguchi is 35 years old. Like I mentioned, it's his second stint in the UFC. His only loss in his first run in the UFC, Wheezy, he went 7-1 in that first UFC run. Only loss coming to DJ, Demetrius Johnson, the GOAT back in the day, all the way back in 2015. His most recent loss, though, oh, God, buckle in, Patchy Mix in Bellator back in 2022. He did go 1-1 with Kai Asakura, who we know from the UFC. He's got wins over guys like Sergio Pettis and Rizin. Very recently, actually, in 2024, he beat Manel Kape back in 2017. So, like, this guy has fought everybody. He's fought the best of the best inside the UFC, outside the UFC. He's lost to some of the better ones. He's fought well against some of the good ones. Like, he's very good, you guys. He's extremely well-rounded. He can wrestle when he needs to. He can be taken down. I will say that's kind of the one hole in his game a little bit is he's got suspect takedown defense, but he knows how to get up. He knows how to offensively wrestle. He's got that fastball overhand. He's extremely light on his feet. He's bouncy all over the place. He's kind of like a blend between Lyoto Machida and Dom Cruz. Like the way he moves, it's like karate in and out, like hop, skip, and jump, and then like a little bit of Dom Cruz footwork mixed in there, and then he'll just fastball that overhand right, blitz attacks, good head movement. I really like Kyoji Horiguchi. I hope he wins, Weezy. I would like to see him come back to the UFC and get a win. That'd be super fun. That would be super exciting. Tagir Ulanbekov, though, like I keep saying, he's a bit of fraud's not the right word, but like I said, he's kind of the weaker of, right? Like I know he's never going to touch gold. He's too old. He's not going to make a title run at this point. So he's just kind of staying busy, cashing paychecks, and good on him. You know, I'm not going to knock him for that. But I do feel like he's eventually going to be had by somebody. This might be the one, man. This might be where he ends up getting taken out by somebody with a little bit of hype. Horiguchi's a plus 170 underdog. Tagir's a minus 200 favorite. I do worry about the takedown defense a little bit. I could see Tagir Ulanbekov getting on top of Kyoji. Yeah, man, 34 versus 35. Like this is a tough fight, Weezy. This is a really tough fight. It's never Ulanbekov at chalk for me. That's all it comes down to. So for me, this is dog or pass. I would hope that Kyoji, who I believe he's working at ATT, unless I'm mistaken.
That's what I've got on my sheet is ATT.
Yeah, I think he was most recently at ATT still. So you know he's going to be prepared and ready to go as far as the wrestling defense goes. And I know it's concerning. The Patchy Mix loss being his most recent one is a little bit scary when they did the PFL versus Bellator thing that they did back a while back. But if you're going to work on your counter grappling, ATT really is the place to be right now. I think he comes in prepared. I think he makes his glorious return to the UFC, sets the record straight, gets a big win at 35 years old. Let's go, Kyoji Horiguchi. And you know what, Weezy? I was not prepared on the way in the door, but that's going to be our Link Memorial Dog of the Week. I'm going to say Kyoji Horiguchi gets the damn thing done. I've been talking about fading Tagir Ulanbekov, who's been a pick'em against lesser opponents recently, and I knew to stay away. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't go for it with guys like Clayton Carpenter. I'm going for it, Weezy. I'm going for it with Kyoji Horiguchi. This is the one.
Yeah, I wish I had something for you on this fight, but to be honest with you, you know, like these guys that come from Bellator and PFL and some of the other higher level regional scene organizations, I don't get a chance to watch it that much, you know? So like a guy like Horiguchi, who hasn't even been in the UFC for 10 years, I haven't been watching this guy's tape. And when I do watch, I'm watching as a fan more than I am as a capper. So at 35 years old, you know, this is going to be one where I gotta watch like a couple hours of tape, because I mean, like Horiguchi has got over 400 minutes, you know, of cage time in order for me to feel like I know what his game is and how he's going to fight against somebody like Ulanbekov, who kind of fights close with everybody with a pulse. You know, even the Azat Maxim fight, I'm not entirely sure who won that fight. They gave it to Ulanbekov, but that was a very close fight. And then we saw Azat just look okay. What's that?
I'm so angry about that fight. As at Maxim, that was a spot I was incredibly confident in, and I thought you could argue that he won that fight.
Yeah,
I'm so pissed about that
argument. Fight. Yeah, you know, and I mean, like he beat Clayton Carpenter. He got subs against guys like Durden and Manus, but you know, anybody that can wrestle a little bit is given Tagir problems, man. And you know, I know that Horiguchi, I've always thought of him as a grappler. I've always thought of him that way, but then you look at his record, and he's 5-1 to the sub, but he's 15-2 to the KO. So clearly this guy's got some power on the feet, and he's 14-2 to the decision. That's phenomenal, because Kyoji not only has had 8 UFC fights, but he's had 32 fights outside the UFC at the highest level at the regional scene non-UFC has to offer. So I know the guy's a good fighter, and you know, and he left the UFC with a 7-1 record. So, but I've got to do more research on him. I don't really have an opinion on this fight.
Okay, fair enough. Let's keep it rolling. Up next, you guys, we've got AbdulRakhman Yakhyaev taking on Rafael Sequeira. That is not easy to say back to back, you guys, so be impressed. I'm curious about this fight, Weezy, just because Sequeira is the free square of the week. I said that backwards. He's the free square to get finished. Yakhyaev is the free square this week. Guys, Rafael Sequeira is the guy that got signed because he was Jailton Almeida's buddy. Sakara was the guy that came to the UFC after fighting in like empty gymnasiums, right? Like one of the worst promotions regionally we've seen of all time. You watch the tape on him and it's laughable. He is Dana White's Contender Series cannon fodder. 35 years old, 0-3 so far in the UFC. He's fast twitch. He is explosive, and he caught a bunch of bums in round 1. And after that, he's got nothing left. He can be taken down. He can be rocked. I mean, I knew it was over, Wheezy. I knew it was a wrap when Modestas Bukauskas walked this guy down disrespectfully and punched him in the mouth. Like, Modestas is the opposite of being an aggressive fighter. He's always very timid, keeps the range, keeps the distance. And with this guy, he went, yeah, I got nothing to worry about. He just walked forward and bopped him right in the jaw, put him down. I bet Sakara that night. Because I keep trying to fade Modestas. I know Sakara's bad, but I thought Modestas was the guy he might get a win over. And that was just one of those like awful, oh my God, I tried to fade shit with shit and I bet the worst shit type of spots where like, no good, no go. So he's awful. He's terrible. This kid is coming in 7-0, 24 years old, right off of Dana White's Contender Series, 5 round 1 finishes, decent level of competition from his opponents. He stays hard on the forward pressure. He's got a big, powerful right hook that he likes to throw. He's floored a bunch of people with that thing, Wheezy. He's very physical, strong body lock takedowns, good ground and pound. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. This guy probably should be a 20-1 favorite. It's probably going to be Yakhyaev round 1, unless he is also a fraud and doesn't get him out of there. It's never Sakara.
Yeah, I don't see how it could be. I mean, like, this guy Yakhyaev looks like the real deal. You know, when you watch him fight, it looks like he's got serious power in his strikes, and it looks like the guy can legit wrestle. And if you got both of those things, you can go so far in these upper weight classes. And then you see a guy like Sakara who comes in as a legit fraud. Like, I'd love to sit down with like a Sean Shelby and be like, can you fucking explain to me the thought process behind signing Rafael Sakara? I would love to fucking hear how you were like, oh yeah, I got this footage. It's on a flip phone, you know, shot from a balcony in a fucking shopping mall against the guy who's 0-0 and who hasn't fought since, and he looked okay. Like, how the fuck did he get signed? You know, I mean, there's a few of these fighters where I'm like, what are they doing? You know, like, are they trolling us? And this is one of the ones. Like, Sakara was scheduled to fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He had 2 opponents fall out, and then they just gave him a UFC fight. And it's embarrassing. It's like, you're supposed to be the premier mixed martial arts organization in the world, and you're signing fighters out of Brazilian malls where there's literally not even an announcer. I mean, like, how are you signing somebody out of a promotion where there's nobody cage side announcing the fights, where you're not even paying a cameraman, and there's more people walking into the express store behind you than watching the fight in the cage because the fight's shit. You know
why, Wheezy? You know why? Because they need highlights. Because they need guys who are capable of losing to create the highlight. We are the world leader in MMA. We absolutely are. But if you only sign the best of the best, that's how you get those boring ass decisions that everybody complains about. And that's why I started using the term cannon fodder, Wheezy. They get these bums in here like Sakara who will go balls to the wall in round 1. And you know what? They might get lucky and crack somebody and get a round 1 finish, but that's good for business too. More often than not, they're going to get broken and finished in the first round. And that's how you hype the prospects. They're signed purposefully to suck.
Well, that makes sense. And I think that Rafael Sakara was signed purposely to suck. And I mean, any other excuse doesn't make any sense to me. So, I mean, I think it's Yakhyaev round 1, however he wants to do this. He should be able to get it done. But I do want to say, Sakara looked solid in his last fight. I think Julius Walker's a good young fighter who's got a pretty bright future, decent wrestler, decent power, good durability, good conditioning, good heart. You know, it's all there. He's just got to put it together as he gets older. Sakara looked way better against Walker than he did against Bukauskas and Aslan. So we just got to mention that. But I think Yakhyaev runs him into a dick saw. I don't think it's going to be close.
I love The new phrase of running him into a dick saw. That's my new favorite thing.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Weezy. I'm with you, and I do think that we need to bear in mind for our guy Julius Walker. He did get rushed a little bit to the UFC. He's also another guy that was supposed to take the Dana White's Contender Series path at one time. They instead signed him directly to the UFC, and they threw him in there against Alonzo freaking Menafield. So like he got baptism by fire in some ways, and I think, and I can't speak for him here, but I think he bought his own hype a little too much in that second fight because he knew Sakara was a bit of a bum. And he was a guest on the show. We actually talked about it. And he said round 1 KO. He's like, round 1 KO. I'm gonna just dish this guy. Round 1 KO. I think he legitimately like kind of looked past him to some extent. And so when he didn't get him out of there in the first round and he got clipped once or twice, he went, oh. So he kind of, he still won the fight. That's one of those ones where like your opponent was supposed to just fall over in front of you and didn't. So he shifted gears and did what he had to do to win. I'm proud of him for that. I still think he's got a bright future, but obviously he's got some work to do. No, guys, I don't think we need to call the FBI. But I just want to point out, though, underestimated this guy a little bit.
Yeah, and Julius beat 3 guys on the regional scene who would beat everybody that Rafael Cerqueira's beaten.
Bingo.
Like he was Bevan Lewis, Niall Bartling. He had 3 names that were good regional scene names, good regional scene wins. That if you put together 3 wins, like at Julius Walker's age, like he did on the regional scene against real fighters, then yeah, he deserves to be here more than Cerqueira does because he's proven it more. He's beaten 3 guys that could beat everybody Cerqueira beat in the same fucking night. So like, I just, we'll see how he does against Yakhyaev here. I think Julius Walker is going to be fine going forward. I don't think Rafael Cerqueira is going to be around for long.
Completely agree with you. Cerqueira's getting his walking papers after this weekend, you guys. Yakhyaev round 1, and we spent more time talking about my boy Julius Walker than we did the guys in this fight because it's that kind of a fight. And hey, he's young. Ease off on my boy Julius in the chat there, you guys. He's young. Give him a little bit of time. All right. Next up, we got Luke Riley, and he's taking on Bogdan Grad. This is a fun fight, Weezy. This is a real legitimate fun fight. Luke Riley, very, very hyped Cage Warriors prospect. You guys know, I think this new crop of Cage Warriors fighters, we just fade the shit out of all of them. They're falling apart at the seams. Maybe not this one. 11-0. 26 years old. He was supposed to fight on Dana White's Contender Series, kept out of that fight because of visa issues, and instead he gets to step right into the UFC. Lots of footwork, stays on the outside, kind of gets you chasing him, and then unloads. Really fast hands. Clean, pretty boxing in the pocket. He's got good balance, so avoiding takedowns and reversing those situations. He can give up takedowns, and that's maybe a little bit concerning in a different matchup, but he knows how to get up. He knows how to work his way to the fence. He knows how to get his feet under him. He knows how to work his way back up. And he's very calm, very technical. He's a bit of a sniper from range, and I actually really like that. I like his chopping leg kicks. I like that right cross that he explodes into. He's got good cardio. I like this kid. I like Luke Riley. Bogdan Grad has been a guy that I've had a little bit of a difficult time getting my brain wrapped around. 15-3, 30 years old. 1-1 so far in the UFC. He's one of these dreaded 2 times Dana White's Contender Series competitors where I just automatically put them in the trash bin. And he's been pretty damn good so far in the UFC. He did get knocked out by Tom Nolan back in 2023, I think. Is that the right guy? Did I mess my notes up on here?
Yeah, that's one. That's
okay. All right. I don't know why, but for some reason that was like a red flag. I was like, am I speaking out my ass right now? No, that is this guy. But he's extremely aggressive, Wheezy. He rolls well. He throws big hooks, lots of spinning attacks, big leap in left hook. That left hand really is his money shot, but he is a guy that I underestimated. He's got better cardio than I gave him credit for, and he's got every single PED performance enhancer on the market that can pass the UFC's new drug testing protocol. He's the veiniest sumbitch you've ever seen. I don't know if this guy is real at this point. He's probably synthetic. I've got to go with Riley in this spot, but Wheezy, it would not shock me at all if he got that young man lesson here and 30-year-old Bogdan Grad over in Qatar was able to get some extra potatoes injected into his veins and hit this kid with a shot he was not able to come back from. So minus 270 Luke Riley, you guys, never for me. We're not doing the minus 270 thing on a contender in this spot. Not a contender, a debutante in this spot. Not doing it. So it's dog or pass from a betting perspective for me. I don't complain about guys cheating anymore. I bet on them instead. So Bogdan Grad as a dog kind of has my attention.
It's that's the best gambling advice you're going to hear all day, ladies and gentlemen. I don't bitch about fighters cheating. I just back them when they do.
I got off my high horse and I put my money on them, Wheezy. That's how it goes now.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we were talking about how me and Brady were talking on Stat Diggers about how we were getting screwed over by all these bets. The Lucas Almeida fight, the Anti-Delio fight, the Bulgarian fight, all this shit, and a Big Steve was in the chat and he goes, here's a fucking idea. How about you pivot? And I was just like, well, he's fucking right, and I always bitch though, because, like we're tracking bets, we're actually putting stuff out there. And then if some news comes out after the card is started, you can't go on Bet MMA Tips and be like, oh, I pulled out of my Bulgarian bet and I bet on Del Valle. No, it just looks like a 3-unit loss to you, So that's the thing. You pivot, if you know somebody's cheating, if you know the judges are biased, if you know the UFC really wants fighter A to win, and that fight is supposed to go to the decision at a high clip, hey, back fighter A, let someone else bitch about the corruption. You just cashed a ticket,
Yep.
When I saw this line, and I've seen Luke Riley fight, but it's been a little bit, and it was like I said, I was watching as a fan on some of these Cage Warriors cards. The first thing I said was, fuck, this guy Riley must be good to be this big of a favorite over somebody like Grad, who's just going to make you fight for the full 15 minutes, And I think that some people think Bogdan Grad kind of sucks because he lost to Tom Nolan. What? Dude, Grad's a 145er who was fighting a guy who looked like he was 185 pounds in there. I mean, if you go back and you watch Bogdan Grad versus Tom Nolan, the first thing you're going to say when that fight starts is, who sanctioned this shit? Who let this 145-pounder move up to 155 pounds to fight this guy? There are some guys you can move up to 155 as a featherweight, and it's not going to look like this crazy difference in size. That fight looked like it shouldn't have even been sanctioned. And Bogdan Grad was talking nonstop shit to Tom Nolan, pissing him off, going into his DMs, fucking sending shirtless pictures of him flexing to Tom Nolan before the fight. And like Nolan knocked him out and he walked over to Dana White and he's like, this guy was talking shit, like it was funny, man. But
that's hilarious.
I've got to do more research on Luke Riley, but from what I've heard from what people are saying about this guy, he's got some really good performances. 8-0 to the KO, 3-0 to the decision. So he's got hands and he can win minutes too. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy's got, because Grad is kind of like one of these guys that's kind of tough to cap because he's got really aggressive BJJ. He's super aggressive on the feet as well. He hits hard and he's willing to scrap. He's willing to go a full 15 minutes like we saw in that Aswell fight. So he, like if you're a technical fighter against somebody like Bogdan, you might get dragged into a non-technical kind of fight that might not favor you. So I've got to, like I said, I got to look more into it. 7 debutantes on this card. If you count Kyoji Horiguchi, who hasn't had a UFC fight since like 2016. So I was like, I've been watching like hours of tape already, but I still only got through like 5 of the 7 debutantes that are on this card.
Yeah, it's a tough week for this kind of thing, you guys. Be nice to your content creators because there's a lot of heavy lifting to do on this kind of a card. Now, Wheezy does have a bit of a hard out, you guys, so we got to be a little bit quick here. Of course, please check out Spectation Sports. Promo code DIEHARD will get you 20% off when you sign up. Last week's Cage Titans card was absolutely awesome. Subversive Fight Club for this week. Next week, FAC 32. There's always action happening on Spectation. Please get signed up. And then, of course, sign up with Cloud Bet Use promo code DieHardMMA for up to $2,500 when you get signed up. Welcome bonuses galore, baby. Hit the link in the description below. There's over 300 of you live here with us today, you guys. Thank you very much for rocking with us. Follow and support Wheezy. Hit the like button, share the show, and let's keep it rolling. Next up, we have got Alex Perez, and he's taking on Asu Almabayev. This is a fun one for me, Wheezy, because I feel like I've had a pretty good read on both of these guys. Asu Almabayev is a man who I've bet on quite a bit in his UFC run thus far. He's a very strong grappler. He is a back-taking specialist. He's 22-3. He is 31 years old. He's a little tank of a man. Now, the problem is he is not a very good striker. He's got serviceable enough striking to do what he needs to do, and that's grapple. When he gets stuck on the feet, though, you can tell he's out of place. He doesn't want to trade. He doesn't like to get hit. His defense isn't where it needs to be. And we've seen that, right? He got KO'd in the third round against Manel Kopp. His only other KO loss, actually, I believe, was in the third round as well. It was a long time ago. But that's how you beat this guy. Everybody else, if he can drag you to the mat, he's going to decisionate you, or he's going to find your back and he's going to choke you out. It's pretty binary. If you've got rough submission defense or rough cardio, you're getting finished. If you've got good cardio, he'll just ride. Look at his record. You've got Ode Osborne. That's the guy he choked out. Vergara, good cardio decision. Jose Johnson, okay, cardio decision. Nicolau, good cardio decision. Jose Ochoa, good cardio decision. So, like, he does what he has to do to win fights. But when you put him in a firefight, he kind of sometimes cannot look so great. Alex Perez, 25-9. 33 years old, not quite sure what to make of this guy at this stage of his career. It was really weird. He was like a top contender before a really long injury layoff that took him out of the cage for several years, set the record for canceled fights in the UFC, finally gets his ass back in the cage, and now he's 1-3-1 in his last 5 fights. His only win coming over Mateus Nicolau, who we know is extremely fragile, but he fought guys that are at the very top of the division. Alexandre Pantoja, Muhammad Mokaev, the guy that probably could be champion if he was still under the UFC banner. And then most recently, Tatsuro Taira. And this was the weird one, Wheezy. This was the weird one because it was like a weird twisting situation where, like, he slammed him on a body lock. Like, it was an injury situation that Tatsuro Taira lost. So it's not like he even got beat by Taira. That fight needed to proceed for us to really see what was going to end up going on there. I think this is the most beautiful recency bias spot I've seen in a long, long time, because people forget that Alex Perez, first and foremost, is a wrestler. This guy's got really good wrestling. He's got really good cardio. He's got fast hands. He's got power in those hands. I'm a little bit concerned with him coming off of the injury loss. I wonder about his knees. But as long as he's healthy, Wheezy, why can't he hold his own wrestling with Asu Almabayev in this spot? I think he can. And so at plus 160, my attention is peaked. I lean towards Alex Perez in this spot. I wouldn't be shocked if he's able to wrestle or counter wrestle his way to a decision. I wouldn't be shocked if he knocks this guy out like we've seen before, where he gets a little slowed down, a little bit tired, and then he starts eating right hands in the second and third round. I kind of lean to Alex Perez here.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because he is coming off that knee injury and he's traveling all the way to Doha, Qatar, while Asu Almabayev will be in a similar time zone to where he lives. Alex Perez is going to be halfway across the world. So that's a big deal. And, you know, like Dravi mentions it there, that was a submission that Taira caught Perez with. He calls it the Bushido backpack. You get on somebody's back, you put the body triangle in, and then you lean off to one side. That puts all of your weight and his weight on one knee. He did it on purpose. That wasn't a fluke.
It's a little fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So is going, you know, stripping down to your underwear and punching other dudes in the face in an iron cage for a living. It's all a little bit fucked up. We do this for a living. It becomes normalized to us, right? You know, but these guys are real fighters. They're in there hurting each other badly. You know, they're getting their arms snapped. They're getting choked unconscious. They're getting smashed in the face. And, you know, that's one of the things that he did there. And now Perez is somebody that has had constant injury problems, right? And now he's got another injury, a 17-month layoff. And if I'm not mistaken, let me look here. I believe Alex Perez might have had a fight called off. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Steve Erceg back in August. He had to pull out of that fight with an injury. Not a knee injury, I believe a hand injury. So now I'm worried again about Perez, because he fought Tyra in June of 2024. He fought Mateus Nicolau in April of 2024. And he fought Muhammad Yakhyaev in March of 2024. So he had 3 fights in 2024. But before that, he had almost 2 years off between fights. And before that Pantoja fight, he had another 18 months off. So this guy has only fought, 1, 2, 3, 4 times since the beginning of 2021. And he's on a 17-month layoff coming into this fight. Knee reconstruction, hand injury, and he's got to fly all the way to Doha, Qatar to fight somebody named Asu Almabayev. It's a tough matchup, man. Alex is the better striker, in my opinion. I also think he might be the better defensive wrestler. We saw Tatsuro really struggle to get him down. I mean, like Pantoja did, but Pantoja kind of gets to everybody's back. We see him do it over and over again. He's the champion. So it's a tough fight, because I bet against Almabayev in the last fight against Ochoa. And after that fight was over, I'm like, man, I am not getting in this dude's way again. He is very good at executing his game plan. He can chain wrestle, and once he gets you down, he keeps you there. And like a lot of dominant fighters, he doesn't take a lot of damage, man. 5-1 record over 6 UFC fights, absorbing less than 2 significant strikes per minute. I think Asu Almabayev, I think this is going to be his spot here. But if Alex Perez is healed up, if he is ready to go, if he gets to Qatar early and is ready to fight at the time he's assigned to fight, and is, his body's adjusted, not jet lagged, he's healthy, ready to go, I think he's going to have a lot for Asu. But I think those are some assumptions that we're making there, because this is a guy that we've known has had injury problems in the past. He's on another long layoff, injuries between the Tyra and this fight. So yeah, man, I'm worried about Alex Perez. I think Asu's got a lot more momentum right now, a lot more positive career trajectory right now. He's 2 years younger than Alex. And I think that he's shown at this level that he's more capable of winning minutes and moments with his wrestling. So I'm going to lean to the Almabayev side.
Okay. And I got to tell you, Weezy, that's one of the reasons why I love doing this show, right? Like, I didn't put enough weight on the injury concerns with Alex Perez. Like, I know he's injured. I talked about it in my breakdown. I've got it in my notes. Yeah. But sitting right here on the show, I'm like watering, I'm foaming at the mouth thinking about this underdog price tag because I see the angle here, and it just never clicked. I'm talking about how injured this guy can be, and I'm ready to bet on him. It's probably a fight you should not do that, you guys. After the injury concerns he's had in the past, coming off of another serious injury, and these are the types of injuries that, I always think in like fantasy football terms, right? When somebody gets blasted in the knee like that, you have an ACL type of injury and you have surgery to repair it. It takes them a year to come back, and then they're not usually up to speed after a year of coming back. So it takes more than a year to fully return from that injury, and then it usually takes time for you to get up to speed. So June 15th was the injury for Tatsuro Taira. So we are over a year. The timeline looks like it's pretty good. We're talking a year and a half or so. There's potential Perez is fully recovered from that injury, right? But you're also running the risk that this is Perez, who is injury prone. He may not. Like, that timeline makes sense, but we're not quite sure what we're getting. So questions, maybe better spots to put your money. Next up, you guys, we've got heavyweight Serghei Spivac takes on Shamil Gaziev, and the polar bear making his return here yet again. Everyone's favorite volleyball player, Shamil, coming in here. This is a fight that I struggle with a little bit, Wheezy, because it seems very, very binary for me. Serghei's 30 years old. He starts fast. He's a very strong grappler. He takes people down. He beats them up early. He submits people. He's awesome, right? Like, we thought we had like a true young title contender, and then he fell off a cliff when he got to step up in competition.
Yeah.
2-3 in his last 5 fights. I've seen him quit more times than I care to admit. The submission win over Marcin Tybura was a complete fluke. He should be 1-4 in his last 5. That armbar is something that will never happen ever again. And then he just got beat up by Waldo Cortez Acosta for his last fight. Shamil is a quick trigger power puncher, your throwback heavyweight, right? 35 years old, very big, very athletic, hits extremely hard. The only loss we've seen for him when Jairzinho took him into deep waters and drowned him. That's the kind of guy that will beat Shamil Gaziev because he's just such a monster in the cage. He's a real freak athlete. Now, Serghei's either going to have success grappling here, Wheezy, or he won't. That's all this fight comes down to for me. If Serghei is slick enough to stick to the game plan and get Gaziev on the ground and wash him on the mat, then he's going to win. And whether it's a decision or a submission, he's going to make it look relatively easy. If he can't get those takedowns, I've seen this guy buckle before. I've seen this guy quit before. I've seen this guy take his ball and go home before. Gaziev's going to knock him out. So this is, in my opinion, a coin flip type of fight when it comes to that kind of result. And I hate betting on those kinds of fights. You've got a slight favorite here, Shamil Gaziev. He's a minus 140 favorite, plus 120 the comeback on Serghei. Spivac, I lean ever so slightly to Gaziev. I'm not ready to put my money on the fact that Serghei Spivac found a heart out there and he's willing to come in here with his backpack and go to work. I think Shamil's probably going to knock him out. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if it came the other way.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's like Spivac doesn't show a lot of urgency in there a lot of the times, you know, and like I guess if you're a 700-year-old vampire, you know, why show urgency? You're going to be here for another 2,000 years, you know. It's not like you can't come back from a little bit of adversity when things go wrong. So, and I think that that's what we see from him. He's 8-6 in the UFC. When he loses, he looks bad, man. He looks really bad. I backed him against Cyril Gane. I almost wanted to cry. Like that was a fucking horrible performance. You know, like when Serghei's doesn't really find his way into the fight early, it looks bad. He very rarely comes back from any kind of adversity. And the thing is, Shamil causes adversity. You know, right from the word go, he's on the pressure. He's backing you up. He's got a lot of power in his hands. And even though this guy's only averaging one takedown per 15 minutes, he's out-controlling his performance 43% to 1%, winning 97.5% of the control time positions in his fights. So this guy can take you down and win minutes on the ground. He can back you up at distance striking range and land knockout type of blows or easily win rounds with his striking. But his conditioning is ass. It's so bad. He gets gassed early, and it's kind of funny to watch. And it's not like Spivac's got phenomenal conditioning, but we've seen him go 3 rounds. Like we saw him win a decision in the Alexei Oleinik fight. We saw him win a decision in the Carlos Felipe fight. You know, we've seen him go to decision with Waldo Cortez Acosta and arguably win that fight, right? You look at the last 5 fights for these guys. For Spivac, it's Waldo Cortez Acosta, who's top 10. Jonathan Almeida, who's top 5. Topuria, who's been top 15 for the last 10 years. Cyril Gane, top 5 fighter. Derek Lewis, the knockout king. And you know, he's been fighting these guys. For Gaziev, it's Thomas Peterson, Dante O'Mays. He gets one step up in Rosenstruik. It's a 5-round fight, and he gets run through. And Martin Budai, you know. So Serghei's been fighting at a higher level, and if he actually winds up getting into clinch positions, his judo's phenomenal. You're going for a ride if you kind of like rush into if you meet Serghei's hips, you're going for a ride. He's got really good throws, really good weight management, really good balance and transfer of his opponent's weight balance. So I think that Serghei can have some success here, but I think Shamil's going to hurt him early. I think that pressure is going to be a lot, and I think if Shamil fights smart and he doesn't get reckless and rush into that pocket, which is where Serghei can kind of catch you and use your weight transfer against you, you know, and then if he gets you to the ground and gets to a dominant position, he's a nightmare to deal with on top. But Shamil has had great takedown defense. He's only spent 1.1% of his UFC octagon time being controlled by his opponents, and he's fought a couple of solid control time type grapplers in Martin Budai. Thomas Peterson is a good wrestler. So I'm leaning to the Gaziev side here. And Gaziev, by the way, has got one of the top 5 Tapology pictures that there is. And I just want people to know at home that that's something that I'm doing when I'm out in public and people want to take pictures and I don't particularly want to be in them. Every pose is with me with the elbow forward, kind of smiling. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows why I'm doing it. And they're saying, why are you taking a picture like that? I'm like, why are you taking a picture of me? And by the way, that's a stupid question. That's a brilliant pose. Even if you've never seen it before, when you see that, you know that individual means business and that they've got a little bit of style and panache when it comes to how they take a picture. So I'm a fan of Shamil. I've never been a big fan of vampires. So I think Shamil's going to win this fight.
It speaks sex appeal and danger to me, Wheezy. That's what I get from the pose. So I'm with you. This year, after I get done fighting with my uncles at Thanksgiving, I'll be
that's awesome.
That's the move. That's the move right there. I need to see Serghei Spivac cosplay as Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII. He'll be the fattest vampire of all time. I need to see it. It's got to happen. All right, guys. We've got Jack the Joker Hermanson taking on Myktybek Orolbai. And you guys know this is an Orolbai themed podcast, right? We love our Myktybek Orolbai here on this show. He's another sleeper agent for us, right? I love this kid. I think he's going to be very, very, very good. First generation upright caveman fighting out of Kyrgyzstan, 14-2-1, just 27 years old. Like, RoboCop, we don't believe his birth certificate, right? We know he's actually a 46-year-old man fighting in the UFC, just hopped up on all the steroids, right? We know that's a lie. I'm pretty sure Myktybek is actually 27 years old. So we got to believe him on this. He is super well-rounded, you guys. And I know we lost the split decision against Mateusz Rebecki. I know that was a smash spot that he never should have lost. I know if we run that fight back, he would win that fight. He got a little high on his own brand. He got caught with a couple big shots early, that eye swell up, and then it was all off the rails. Butterfly effect type shit, right? Like, if his eye doesn't get busted, then he probably has a different game plan throughout that fight, and it turns out okay. It's just like Benoit Saint-Denis getting mauled by Renato Moicano. Run it back. I promise you it ends differently. It was just one of those spots. Rough night. But what we saw from him is he can dig deep, he's got heart, and he's got good cardio. He turned that fight on its head, and he made an argument for actually still getting his hand raised by the end of it. He's extremely big for 155 pounds, and that's why he's kind of one of these tweeners. He's been floating up at 170 his last couple of fights. He had a 165 catch weight in his last fight, won via big man first round Kimura, which was impressive and fun to watch. He's taken this fight against Jack at 170, so the question is, I don't know what his future is, Wheezy. I don't know if he's going back down to 155. I hope he does, because the size and strength advantage there, I think he'd be a fucking problem at 155 pounds. Now, maybe he can't make it. Maybe he's an RDA type where it's just too much to get him down there. I think he'll be perfectly effective at 170 pounds. Maybe not the title aspirations I've got for him at 155, but he'll be very good still at 170 pounds, even up at this weight class. Now, he's taking on Jack Hermanson, who is our favorite Joker, 24-9, but he's 37 years old, and he's kind of zigzagging a little bit right now. We know he can fight on his feet. He's a good boxer. He pissed Chris Curtis off and me off, skating around the outside of the cage, not letting Chris touch him. He did the same thing to Joe Pyfer. If he knows you've got power, he will just run from the fight, Wheezy. He will do everything he can to score and run and stay the hell away from you. And when he doesn't, he gets knocked out. He got iced by Gregory Obokop Rodriguez, but this is a guy who went to a 5-round split decision with Sean Strickland, right? Like this guy's got cardio, he's got pace, he's got footwork, he's got speed, he's got all the boxes, but he's getting a little bit old. He's a little bit less durable. This is a tough fight for me, Wheezy. My very first instinct, I saw this, I saw the -200 price tag, and I went, parlay, bitch. Like, I'm ready to hit the button. I'm like, get me in there on my boy Orolbai. And then I pumped the brakes and I slowed down a little bit, and I was like, okay, you know what? Jack is not completely cooked at 37 years old. Durability, slight question mark. But he's not totally cooked. And he's fighting some of the best fighters in the weight class. The Roman Dolidze loss, bit of a freak situation. That's where he got his leg tied up in the scramble and got pounded out with back control, that whole thing. Gregory Rodriguez is going to ice some people. That'll happen. Even if the Sean Strickland fight probably wasn't really a split decision, he still fought competitively with them for the full length of the fight, right? He's beaten guys like Edmund Shabazian, Kelvin Gastelum, my boy Chris Curtis. Like, yeah, man. Tough sledding here. tough sledding. The question is, he's coming down a weight class. He's mostly a 185 or so. What is this cut going to do to him? Is he going to have a wrestling advantage? Is he going to have a strength advantage? Is the cardio still going to check out? Like, all of these are questions for me here. Is the durability going to be worse because he's going to have less water on his brain? Like, I have too many questions about this fight. I lean Myktybek Orolbai by KO. I don't like the number.
Yeah, the questions that we have about Jack Hermansson right now, none of them are good. Yeah. None of them are good at all. And when I saw, I think it was Crazy Kev who did a fight announcement for this one, I had a visceral reaction because he said that he was Jack Hermansson. This was about 2 months after he had been knocked out by Robocop, right? And like, I had Robocop, I had a big bet on Robocop's money line. I had an additional bet on Robocop inside the distance, right? So I was like, my week came down to whether he was going to win or lose that fight. And Robocop iced him. My first thought was not that I cashed a bunch of money. My first thought was, holy shit, Jack Hermansson might be dead. Like, and then he was knocked out so badly. You remember he didn't wake up for at least a minute, right?
Yeah. No, it was a bad one.
It was like pan away from it. It was one of the worst that I've seen all year. It was brutal. And then 2 months later, I see a fight announcement that not only is Jack Hermansson looking for a fight again, you know, when he should probably be retiring after that knockout, but that it's not at 185 pounds, it's down at 170 against a fucking guy that's been walking the earth since the Ice Age. That was just thought out 27 years ago on my birthday, January 1st. Okay. This kid is 14-2. You know, like, one of his losses was a clear win, by the way. Like, one of Orolbai's losses, clear win that he easily won that fight. The guy should have been undefeated going into the Rombeski fight, which is one of the best fight of the year candidate in 2024. Like, Jack Hermansson's been knocked out 4 times in his career, all at the UFC level. And the one that most recently happened was absolutely brutal. And now somebody is signing off on this guy to cut an additional 15 pounds. And it sickens me because I remember the Dolidze fight. A lot of people don't remember this, but Jack Hermansson was the last fighter to the scale, and he looked like death warmed over. And when that guy weighing him in read 186 pounds, he screamed at the top of his lungs like he had just achieved the biggest accomplishment of his life. He looked like death. He barely made 186, and he went out there and he got run through by Roman in that fight. Now, less than 5 months removed from one of the most brutal knockouts that we saw this year, he's going to go and fight Myktybek Orolbai at 170 pounds. I would wager that this fight is not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this weight cut is going to be a complete fucking disaster.
Sean Strickland for scale, everybody, a former 205er.
Yeah. Well, no, Strickland was a former 170er. And yeah, he moved up to 185. But I want to point out that this guy, Jack Hermansson, has 33 professional fights, Clint. He's been fighting as a professional for 15 years of his life. He's never fought at 170. Never. So I'm just saying that, like, I think if this fight does happen and Jack Hermansson gets knocked out badly, whoever sanctioned this fucking thing is going to have some questions to answer, because I think this is disgusting. This fight makes absolutely no sense. And I think whoever is letting Jack Hermansson fight at 170 pounds in the UFC, coming off that last knockout loss, has got some serious explaining to do. And I think that this is going to be a complete fucking disaster. I wouldn't get my money anywhere near Jack Hermansson. And I think Myktybek Orolbai is going to run him into something even worse than the dick saw.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Weezy. I think this fight's not going to happen. You guys, yeah. I believe this fight is going to get canceled. He will not make the weight. And Orolbai, if he knows what's good for him, won't take the fight if it's, 8 pounds over the weight class. So we'll see what happens. If it does run, then I've got Orolbai by knockout. But again, hate the number and don't want to have a bet in when I find out my guy's accepting a fight with somebody at a catch weight 10 pounds up when he could be fighting at 155 pounds.
Yeah.
So, not for me. Not for me.
Exactly.
All
It's a stay away from me too right now, man. But I do think Orolbai wins. But I mean, this is a bad idea in my opinion.
Yeah, terrible planning. All right, guys. Next up, we've got Volkan Oezdemir taking on Alonzo freaking Menifield. Wheezy, this fight is the bane of my existence. I hate everything about this fight. So I've ranted and raved about Volkan's stupid nickname of No Time Oezdemir when he doesn't really have knockout power. I've gone on and on about it for years. I can't wait until he retires so I never have to talk about it ever again. It's the worst nickname a fighter has ever received, and that's saying something with some of the names that we've had recently. This guy has been fighting tough competition. He's basically a 500 fighter in the UFC, 3-3 in his last 6. He beats guys like Guskov in his debut, and Paul Craig and Johnny Walker, who has no chin. One of the guys he's capable of knocking out. Loses to people like Magomed Ankalaev, Nikita Krylov, Carlos Olberg. He's one of these guys who's middle of the road. Never should have gotten a title shot. He only did because 205 sucks and there's nobody to take those opportunities. So once upon a time, Daniel Cormier agreed to fight him because they needed to fill a slot. Volkan Oezdemir is well-rounded, decent wrestling, decent boxing. He's got pop. And I say pop because it's not power. If you're chinny, he can knock you out. You have to be chinny. If you're not chinny, he will not knock you out. But his boxing is decent. Alonzo Menifield, 17-5-1. He is 38 years old, and I don't know how this guy just keeps doing it, Wheezy. He can't keep getting away with it. He's 2-2 in his last 4, and before that, he went on that weird, fraudulent 5-fight win streak that I don't know what to do with this fucking guy. Every time I think he's half decent, he runs face first into Carlos Olberg's right hand, right? But then on some random ass day, he's out hustling Dustin Jacoby and rocking a world-class kickboxer and sending him falling all over the cage. Like, I don't know what Alonzo Menifield is. I don't know what he is. He can kind of wrestle. He can kind of strike, but he's so big. He hits so freaking hard that he rocks people he shouldn't otherwise be beating. His entire game plan legitimately is like the nuclear threat. Like, you are not allowed to attack him for fear of him attacking you back, right? Like, this guy is the state of Israel. So you're not allowed to swing at this man because you know he's going to swing back, and he hits so hard. It's going to be a problem when he does. And it makes it so hard to break down his fights. I thought my boy Julius Walker was going to handle him. And early on, it looked like he was going to break him with the wrestling and the pace and get it going. It ended up not working out because he's so strong. Julius got tired from moving his ass around the cage. Wheezy, I just never know when we're going to get good Alonzo and when we're going to get bad Alonzo. When the universe lines up, Alonzo Menifield seems like he can beat just about anybody. When he has a bad game plan, and like I said, really, I'm pointing to that Olberg fight where he charged at him from across the cage. That ain't going to work. Your ass is getting knocked out when you do that stupid stuff. So if he takes this fight timely with Oezdemir, maybe he's somehow live. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like this is a classic Volkan Oezdemir by decision spot. I think the footwork will make the difference. I think the reach and the boxing skill will separate the two of them. I don't think that Alonzo is going to get clipped so hard that he gets knocked out in this type of a spot. And I think Oezdemir will value his own personal safety above doing damage. So he'll end up jabbing and moving more than anything. Maybe a late TKO if Alonzo like gasses out from chasing him or something. Probably Oezdemir by decision. This fight's going to be gross, but that's how I see it kind of playing out, man. What about you? You are muted, my friend.
Yeah, what caught my eye about this fight was the line. You know, I was surprised to see Volkan this big of a favorite. Volkan's like minus 220. And he's minus 225. That's the biggest favorite that we've seen Volkan priced at thus far in the UFC. This is his 16th UFC fight, with the previous high being minus 185 versus Alir Latifi back in 2019. And my question is why are we going to make Volkan a big favorite now? You know, like, this guy doesn't fight anymore. You know, like, you look at in terms of activity, Alonzo Menifield has had 7 fights since the beginning of 2023, while Volkan's only had 3. You know, and in addition to that, you know, you look at Alonzo, he's 10-5 with a draw at the UFC level, And when he's priced as an underdog, when the market thinks Alonso can't win, he's 3 wins, 2 losses, and a draw with 127% ROI over 6 fights. Now, Volkan is the more experienced at the UFC level, and he's got the strength of schedule advantage. And in addition to that, he's 2 years younger and 2 inches taller than Alonzo Menafield. But, like, where does Volkan Ozdemir look minus 225 here is my question. I think that's a fair question, right? Like, what is it? Volkan does not have explosive power. Volkan doesn't have great wrestling. I mean, we just saw him kind of have like this really tepid, low-paced striking match with Carlos Ulberg. You know, I'm not even sure who won that fight, to be honest with you. But my problem is that we saw Ozdemir plus 215 in his last fight, plus 115 2 fights before that. He fought Bogdan Guskov and was only a minus 170 favorite versus a Guskov who, I mean, like, he's looked good thus far, but I mean, I had a big bet on fucking Ozdemir there because Guskov had proven nothing, and he made that look easy. You know, he's plus 170 against Nikita Krylov. He's only minus 142 against Paul Craig. Why is he minus 225 over a guy who in his last 5 fights has wins over Umar Sy and Dustin Jacoby? If he can out-kickbox Dustin Jacoby, and if he can prevent being grappled by Omar Sy, what is Volkan going to do to him to look minus 225? So for me, this is like, you can break this down however you want to break it down in terms of how you think the fight's going to play out inside the cage. What you can't do is tell me that Volkan Ozdemir should be a minus 225 favorite. I don't see how he covers that in the cage. And when you look at the non-cage stuff like age, size, momentum, betting lines, none of that is a reason as well to back Volkan here. So yeah, I think that Menafield's the side from a money line perspective, and I think the fight's going to play out close. I don't think either one of these guys is much better than the other.
I'm going to tip my cap to my boy Timmy Triano in the chat. I saw him here a little earlier. Probably a split decision coming up here, boys.
Could be.
Probably a gross, greasy split decision coming up here on this one. I'm with you, Weezy. I'm a never Alonso guy, and the further up in competition he steps, the more never Alonso I will get. But I'm not touching Ozdemir here because I can see him fumble in the bag just as easily in this spot. Barry, the fuck did you do? Right, one of my mods in the chat put his what'd you do? Unban all the people. Like, people are scared to say anything now because Barry's got his pocket change and dildo banning people in the chat because he's just walking around with it in his pocket. What are you doing, Barry? Get your shit together. All right, guys. Next up, you've got Belal Muhammad taking on Ian Machado, Garry, and the co-main event of the evening. I love this fight, Weezy. This is kind of like a second run of the title fight from last week, right? It's almost the same fight turned around here. You've got Ian Garry, who's smooth on the feet, who's working real hard on his grappling, training with Charles Oliveira, and you've got my boy Belal Muhammad, who just wants to maul you, who wants to get in there, who can box his ass off, who can take you down, who can drag your ass around the cage. He did it to Leon Edwards, and I had people arguing with me that that fight was closer than it looked on paper, and no, it wasn't. No, it fucking wasn't. Belal is just cash money as an underdog, Weezy. He always has been. He's constantly disrespected. We got him at plus money all the way up on his title run, and honestly, if you run it back and he doesn't go out there trying to beat Canelo, he probably has a decent shot of beating what's his face? Jack Della. Yeah. He could have beat Jack Della and still been the champion if he just didn't go out there and try and box his ass off. So now that we have a second opportunity, he's got Ian Garry here where he's going to come back and pull his head out of his ass. Belal should be grappling his ass off here. We have seen Ian Garry with decent back takes, but he's willing to play jiu-jitsu. He's long and he's spindly. He's not going to be a power wrestler type. I don't think he can hang with Belal in the grappling. And it's been a long time since we've ever heard flashes of anything regarding power with Ian Garry. He had that one head kick that seems almost more of a fluke than anything at this point. Don't get me wrong. He's very good. I think he's a money printer. He's very skilled. He's very talented, and he's easy to hate. So you'll want to bet against him to see him lose. You want to talk shit about him because of his wife, like all this stuff. Those are reasons I want to back Ian Garry. But Belal is maybe the one guy in this weight class who is more disrespected than Ian Garry. And coming off of Team Khabib getting their hand raised, everybody right now is locked the fuck in with Islam being two-time champ. Belal's going to be coming off a good camp in that situation as well. I think he's going to be prepared. I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I think he comes out here and drags Jack Della. I think he takes his vengeance for Jack Della out on Ian Garry and drags him around the cage. So this is probably good plus money season, man. Belal plus 200. I think that's the only way to go.
Yeah, so Belal Muhammad has been priced as an underdog in 13 of his 20 UFC fights, right? Over those 13 fights, Belal is 9 wins, 3 losses, and a no contest, average betting line of plus 145, and a return on investment of 78%. So Belal Muhammad is one of the best fighters to back because he's got a well-rounded skill set and he knows when to use what skill. I was ready to back Belal Muhammad with a massive bet against Jack Della Maddalena. And I was told by people close to the situation that Belal Muhammad was going to box with him. And I remember telling people, like, well, why would he all of a sudden, after 19 UFC fights, where his greatest asset has been his knowledge of what he does well, his knowledge of what his opponents don't do well, and fitting the right game plan to the right situation. After 19 UFC fights, all of a sudden Belal Muhammad in his last fight turned into a complete moron with 0 fight IQ and took the hardest possible path to beating somebody that we saw yesterday is a shit grappler. There's no other way to say it. Everybody who was saying that Jack was going to stuff takedowns was fucking wrong. He didn't stuff one of them. He didn't get back up once. He had nothing for Islam Makhachev. Why the fuck did Belal Muhammad not wrestle in that last fight? I want to know why. Because you know what I remember after Belal lost to JDM and JDM was the new 170-pound champion? You know what I remember happening less than 24 hours later was Islam Makhachev saying that he's vacating the 155-pound belt and moving up to 170 pounds. Who lost to JDM? Belal Muhammad, a guy who has trained with those guys before. It just seems fishy to me. I don't believe that Belal Muhammad turned into a fucking retard overnight. This guy has got a law degree from the University of Illinois. He's one of the smartest fighters in the history of the UFC. He's done more with less than any fighter that I remember, Clint. And this guy went out there and fought the opposite of smart in the biggest fight of his life. And I don't get it. I want to know why. And it really bothers me. It's
something he's never done over the course of his entire career.
Never.
He's always been the guy you can count on for high fight IQ and good game planning. I completely agree with you. Louisi, I dismissed it. That quote came out that he was going to go box with him. And I went, guys, no, he's not. Like what Belal is trying to lure Jack Della into a false sense of security here. He will not go out and do that. We've seen it. And I told people, I said this on the podcast. I'm sure I could probably go find a clip of it. We've seen this guy time and time again make the optimal decision in fights for years now. He's not going to do this. I was floored that he actually stuck his head up his own ass and did that.
You know, because that would have been one of the easiest fights of his career. He could have just did what Islam did. You know, and you know that he's got the capability to do that. He just chose not to. And I'm not accusing him of anything. It just seems to me like it was almost like Islam and the boys told him, hey, man, if you go out there and you lose this fight, we're going to move up to 170 and then we'll get the first title fight. And then we'll give you some fucking money or something. I don't know. But I don't think they wanted to fight each other. I don't think Islam wanted to fight Belal. I don't think Belal
they were never going to fight each other.
You know, I think they'd rather beat up on a non-Muslim, and they got an easy chance to fucking do it. You know, but all Belal had to do first was lose. And he did exactly that. And he did it exactly the way that I would tell him to do it if I was trying to fix a fight and try to get him to lose in the most what looks like plausible way possible. Oh, he just thought he could outbox him because his boxing got better. Yeah, right. A guy with no ground game, and now you're all of a sudden you're going to forget that you're a wrestler. Like, I think Ian Garry should win this fight, man. You know, I think Belal's pressure and boxing and wrestling, if he puts them together properly, could give Ian a lot of problems here. But after that last performance at 37 years of age, with Belal not being phenomenal anywhere but fight IQ, and he's coming off showing sub-zero fight IQ in his last fight, I can't fucking back him here.
Fair enough. I cannot argue that. I can understand the suspicion. And I think the circumstances around his last fight were a little bit crazy and fishy as well. But I don't know. I got to kind of hope that that was a one-off and he gets back to his usual form and does what he's known for doing. And if he does that on his best night, he can beat a guy like Ian Garry. Now, I will say I have not been the down on Ian Garry guy, right? We've cashed a lot of tickets on Ian Garry. I've actually enjoyed riding Ian Garry to the bank because, like I mentioned, people want to doubt him. People want to bet against him. People want to talk shit on him. I think that sets up a beautiful opportunity for us to make easy money on him. This is the spot where the rubber meets the road. If this was a pick'em, maybe I could talk myself into Ian Garry. But if you're giving me 2-1 on Belal again, you already read off the stats, Weezy. He prints as an underdog.
Yeah, he does.
It's going to be a coin flip fight. It's going to be a close fight. And need I remind you, we're in Qatar. Do you think the Irish kid is going to have the advantage in Qatar? I don't. You know, so I lean towards Belal. I lean towards Belal by decision. But it's probably going to be a close fight, and I do think that Ian is getting better. So could this be the one where he kind of announces himself and shows off good footwork and takedown defense and makes life hard on Belal? Yeah, could be this one. But Belal or pass for me. All right, guys, main event time. We've got Arman Tsarukyan taking on Daniel Hooker, and please be reminded that the show is powered by cloudbet.com. You guys make sure you're using diehard MMA code when you sign up over at cloudbet.com. Lots of open welcome bonuses up to $2,500 initially. The cash vault unlocks 1 month later. Lots of free bonuses and opportunities for you guys to make some free cash when you get signed up. And it's an awesome platform with some great numbers, especially on the prop bets that they offer. So please be sure to check that out. Man, I feel like we got robbed. I wanted to see Arman Tsarukyan and Islam too. That was maybe the toughest fight that Islam's ever had. I wanted them to run that one back, and Islam kind of ran from that opportunity, unfortunately. So now we get to see what happens here. Arman Tsarukyan is a weird fighter, Wheezy, because he legitimately is like a rich kid. He's like a crypto trust fund baby. Like he's set for life. He doesn't have to do this shit. He does not have to do this shit if he doesn't want to. And he fights because he wants to. He's always posting videos of himself eating the most obnoxious things. And then he's got a harder 8-pack than anybody I've ever seen in my entire life. So I don't know how he keeps in the shape that he is with always, you know, driving around in his Bugattis and eating his, wow, I almost said eating his Bukakis. That's not correct. That's not how that joke is supposed to work. So Arman Tsarukyan, just incredible pace. He's an incredible wrestler. He can throw that fastball overhand. You know, you feint the double leg and you go high with that punch. He's got serious pop in his hands, but we've also seen some questionable moments. We saw him get rocked. It was Joaquim Silva who had him super hurt in the first round. It was Charles Oliveira who had him in the tightest squeeze, where frankly, I think Charles subs him if his shorts don't come off. Like the way he was bucking and escaping to get out of that spot. If his shorts don't come undone and he shows his bare ass out to the UFC, Charles finishes him in that spot, Wheezy. So like, he's not a perfect fighter. He's tough. He's great. He's awesome. He got out hustled by Mateos Gamrot a couple years ago. There's these moments where you're like, when you see the flashes of brilliance that make you believe in some fighters, I see the shadows of doubt in Arman Tsarukyan. I can't really prove that he's a fraud based on his record and what he's done, but I'm just like right there. I'm like, he's always going to fall short in that big moment. That's kind of the guy I've known him to become. Now, Dan Hooker, 24-12, 35 years old, City Kickboxing. What the hell? Like, I don't even know what we're supposed to do with Dan Hooker. It wasn't long ago he was 1-4 in his last 5 fights. But now he's on a 3-fight win streak, and he got a win over Mateus Gamrot, which was impressive as hell. His last 2 have come by split, though. Jalen Turner, who immediately hung it up and retired afterward. Gamrot, who looks like the UFC's trying to get rid of him. He beat up Claudio Puelles, who's the heel hook king. That's the only move he's got is the knee bar. Sorry about that. So this guy has fallen short every time he's gotten a step up in competition. Whenever he fights elite competition, he falls apart. But he's super well-rounded. He's super tough. He's got awesome Muay Thai. He went to war with Dustin Poirier, one of the best fights of all time back in 2020, where they just laid into each other and took years off of each other's life. I love Dan Hooker. One of the most exciting fighters you'll ever see. That said, I think Arman Tsarukyan probably out-hustles him. It is a 25-minute fight, and the one thing I'll say about that is Hooker never goes away. You have to put this man in a box and nail it shut to get him out of there. So he's got to completely kill this dude in the first round. Otherwise, Hooker will not go away. This is the live bet spot, you guys. This is the one where you watch super closely, and if you see Dan Hooker starts moving forward and Arman Tsarukyan starts failing on some of these takedowns, you hit that button. You hit that button. You jump in live, because I think Dan Hooker can make this fight a dogfight. And if he does, he is very live in a dogfight. If it stays technical, then Arman Tsarukyan probably pays off this minus 500. But realistically, I don't think he's finishing Dan Hooker. I think Arman Tsarukyan by decision has a better shot of hitting than Arman Tsarukyan inside the distance. And that's where this minus 500 just seems like a bad number to me, because even in a win, I don't see Tsarukyan just flatlining and folding Dan Hooker. I have a really hard time envisioning that. So for me, it's dog or pass. And if you've got a book that's got those spread props where you just need a fighter to win a couple rounds with this kind of number, you'll probably get like a plus 5.5 or a plus 6.5 on the spread. That's something I'd be interested in, Weezy.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight because both of these guys are on super long layoffs here, and laying minus 500 on a guy in Tsarukyan who's on a 19-month layoff coming into this fight. And why is he on that long of a layoff? Well, we're told it's because of a back injury that he sustained on fight week. But the whispers is that he wasn't going to make weight. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's whispers, so you have no idea if they're true or not. And I just think it's odd that somebody, training for the biggest fight of their life would have back spasms or a back injury on weigh-in day that keeps them from not only fighting, but weighing in, right? Because he didn't even weigh in. Remember? So I'm wondering if this rich boy finally got to a point where he was like, I don't know if I can eat fucking beluga caviar whether I fight or not. So I'm wondering right now, like you're talking about minus 500 on a guy who hasn't shown up to fight in 19 months and who had to pull out of the biggest fight of his career, maybe because of an injury, but maybe because he actually fucked up the biggest weight cut of his life. That's a possibility. Yeah. It absolutely is. So
you got to watch out for that bukkake caviar.
Yeah, you do. That's the worst brand of caviar for sure. And Dan Hooker is somebody who's going to pressure you nonstop. He's going to force you to fight. And if you look at his grappling efficiency is really good. He only attempts 2.1 takedowns, but his opponents attempt 6.1 takedowns against him. So Dan Hooker's attempting only 25% of the total takedowns in his fights, but he's winning 64% of the control time positions in his fights, right? He's got 78% takedown defense on 6.1 attempts against per 15 minutes, and he only spends 10.6% of his UFC octagon time being controlled by his opponents. So it might not be easy for Arman to take this guy down and hold him there and win a ton of minutes with top time. We know that he's got the capability to do that, but we also know that guys that are good scramblers, for instance, like Mateus Gamrot, were able to, not be underneath him for long stretches of time. We're forcing him to use his striking. And Dan Hooker is somebody that's big. He's physical. He's long. He can put you in submission attempts as well as land elbows off of his back. He's a tricky guy to take down and hold down. So, minus 500, Arman Tsarukyan could look that number because he's that dominant of a grappler and he's that talented of a fighter. The guy's 9-2 in the UFC. He's fucking good. We all know that. He got a shot for a title. You know, he made his debut on short notice against Islam Makhachev, and some people thought he won a round of that fight. So he's clearly very talented, and like you said, he does this because he wants to, not because he has to. But he's on a 19-month layoff. There are some questions about why he wasn't able to show up to that Makhachev fight, the biggest fight of his life. So is he motivated right now? Is he training hard? You know, we don't really know, do we? So Dan Hooker is the kind of guy, you know, he could have $1 billion. He'd probably still show up to fight for 12-12. That's what I think of Dan Hooker. You know, you can just watch the guy, the way that guy fights, and know that he's at home when he's in there. He loves being in there. So I think it's going to be a very interesting fight, man. You know, let's look at Dan Hooker's numbers as an underdog. I'll bet they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Let me upload this file here. Let's see. Dan Hooker as an underdog. 8 wins and 6 losses, average betting line of plus 169, and an ROI of 64%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's over 14 UFC fights, fighting some of the best names in the organization. So 5-round fight, both guys on 1+ year layoffs. This one might take a while to get going. They might feel each other out for a little bit. I don't know how confident either guy is going to be about going 5 rounds with that much ring rust and that long of a layoff that both of them are on here. So it's a very interesting fight. I think the value's on the underdog here, and I think that Hooker could make this look a lot closer than what the line is saying it's going to look like.
Yeah, you and me are aligned on that one here, Wizzy. My guy Ethan Hershey is challenging you to 4-1 shot bet here in the chat. If you want Dan Hooker, he'll give you 4-1 on a shot bet. He wants Arman Tsarukyan.
Yeah, he's very confident. He's very confident, and the market is too. To be fair, I mean, they're not pricing Arman at -500 because they think it's going to be close. You know, there's a lot of people who think he's going to run away with this fight, but Dan Hooker's a tough opponent, man. So it's very interesting. Dan Hooker consistently outperforming market expectations, whether he's a favorite or an underdog. So I think with this being a 5-round fight, there's some circumstances here that lead me to believe I wouldn't want to be laying that kind of money on Arman.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's probably a stay away fight for me, but you guys, I will tell you, this is probably a half decent spot to anchor if you want to create a middle for yourself, because with Arman Tsarukyan having this kind of a number on him, hedging out with Dan Hooker at the end of the night will just be the easiest thing you've ever done in your life. So I'm not saying I'm going to do that or anything like that. And the anchor is always because I'm sold the anchor is going to win 100%. But like if you parlay everything up with Arman at the end of the night, and then you just click a couple units on Dan Hooker going the other way at 4-1, you're going to have like a win-win situation like you wouldn't believe if you hit your other stuff. So just a strategic thought for you degenerates in the chat. You guys, that is UFC Qatar. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight, you guys. Thank you very much for always supporting, liking the show, all that stuff. Wheezy, thank you for taking the time. I'm sorry we went a little bit over. You and I were having too much fun talking about stuff like we usually do. The floor is yours, my guy. Shout out anything you got going on, telling the people where they can support you, sponsors, anything you got going on, my guy. Floor is yours.
Well, in about 90 minutes, my guy DFS by the numbers, Brady, and I are going to be going live for Stat Diggers on his YouTube channel. We're going to break down this card, break down, you know, who needs some help from last card. It'll be interesting. And you can find me on YouTube at Uncle Wheezy. You can find me on X at MMA Wheezy. And if you want to support my work and you want to get access to the absolute treasure trove of information that I have in my UFC database of statistics and fight write-ups, check out oddsshopper.com and look up Uncle Wheezy over there on OddsShopper. You're going to find my probability stats and content package for a 50% off discount if you get one of the last 7 slots that's available for your first month, $12.50 instead of $25. It includes my stats packages, my betting models for over-under bets, my betting model for prop bets, my fight write-ups, access to all my track bets, access to my Discord, access to 2 different shows that I do on YouTube every week, which are private to only my OddsShopper community, where we go in depth for balls deep breakdowns, where we do a full card breakdown, and then we do a plus EV prop betting show called Propability. It's a tremendous amount of information. It'll make you a better long-term UFC better when you have access to more information to look through when you look at all these fights. We all forget shit. We all forget to take certain things into account. But if you want to spend 5 or 10 minutes reading a fight write-up and looking at the stats, you're gonna make less mistakes like that, and you're gonna make better long-term decisions. So if you want to support my work, check me out on oddshopper.com. But you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on X. You can find me a couple times a year right here with Clint breaking down these cards, man. It's always a pleasure to share the camera with you, my man.
Hey, Wheezy's not only one of the good ones, you guys. Wheezy's one of the best ones. So be sure to support him. Thank you all one more time for being here. Good luck on all of your degenerate action this week. Hopefully we can cash some more tickets and keep on the Baby Blues for a couple weeks here to end 2025. For your Uncle Wheezy, I am Clint. And always remember, you guys, trust your balls and protect your dick. Let's roll.